Cool. Way to go, you.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, the boys and girls.
Hey,
children
man, what do you want from me?
of all
Okay.
ages.
All
Listen,
right.
I was just pointing out, got my hands handed to me yesterday, and that today I did my job, and I did it well. I pushed the button early. We were live before the show started, which is what's supposed to happen. We're rolling.
Any mistakes that were made yesterday were mine. They were not yours, and I should have paid more attention.
I agree.
But I was too busy gloating.
Thank you for saying that into a microphone so that I have proof of it forever.
You can do no wrong. It's all my fault. Everything that goes wrong in the building, my fault.
And as long as it doesn't add any work to my plate, cool.
Well, it could.
That's also true.
Lonzo is unable to do this. Can you pick up the slack, Rob?
I have been told that Lonzo is a superstar, though.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I've been told.
The aging veteran.
Whatever you say, Dorn. Pick up a bat, Dorn. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, the Rob Brown Show.
My knees are pretty bad, so just like Dorn's.
I feel like you got one last Willie Mays Hayes steal a home plate in you somewhere, buddy. I believe in you. I believe in you.
I can fall forward fast.
Stop. It's not flying. It's falling with style. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, the Rob Brown Show on the radio. It's the fan upstate. How do you do? Welcome in. Great to be with you. I am Rob. The great one, Lonzo, is that other sultry, seductive voice that you hear this AM. Glad to have you guys along for the foremost electrifying hours in sports talk entertainment that you're going to find anywhere. Hope that you're well. Hope that your day is just off to a rip-roaring start. You're here with us for 4 hours, so I assume that it is. I got all my stuff back, and I forgot to push the right button to flip it over. But I do got all my stuff back. That's exciting. That's good to know. We're somewhat back to normal ish.
Nope.
I said ish.
Nope.
I'll work with ish.
Yeehaw! No way.
We got a lot to get to today. A lot to talk about on the radio broadcast today. If you want to be a part of it,
I've heard some
there
complaints, and they want me to apologize. That's not going to happen.
there we go.
America.
We're back. We're back, baby. Rob Brown's got a soundboard back. It's all we ever wanted. We got a lot to get to on the radio broadcast today. If you would like to be a part of the show, now is your opportunity. The whole show is your opportunity to do it at 844-326-3663. How did I blank on the phone number? I say it 50 times a day, every day. 844-326-3663 is the number to be a part of the show today.
You didn't have to admit to that. People may have thought that their radio cut out for a second.
I'm open and honest about everything in my life, even when I should not be sometimes, which is often, if we're being honest, which is often. I just believe that the people should have the opportunity to know what's happening behind the scenes. So, we're an open book around here. This is a show of the people, by the people, for the people. So let's do it for the people, shall we? We got to get a lot more NFL in here today. Our Super Bowl, as we mentioned a time or two yesterday, is set. The Kansas City Chiefs are going for the first three-peat in history. And because my poor dear colleague, comrade at arms, brethren in broadcasting, that's a new one. I've never said that before. The great Lonzo has been listening for 2 weeks to me and my secret society of broadcasters who have it out for the Chiefs. I have found a collection of broadcasters who spent yesterday spreading the opposite message. And you will be glad to know, Lonzo, that while in my secret group text that you're not invited to, Stephen A. Smith is in it, Colin Cowherd is in it, Tony Romo is in it.
But by the way, is that a surprise that that they turned?
Me and Mad Dog Russo were in it.
They turned? Wow. Okay. So there was an outcry about all their whining and complaining, and suddenly they've had a change of heart.
Now on Lonzo's side are Mark Schlereth, Big Stank, Dan Orlovsky. Now, let's rephrase that. Both of them still did have some complaints about officiating, but both of them said in pretty much the exact words, the Chiefs beat the Bills. At the end of the day, there's some question marks about some calls for sure, but the Chiefs outright beat the Bills. So we're going to get to that later on in the show.
In the end, it really comes down to, and hopefully these guys' eyes have been opened up, that officiating is bad across the board in every game. It's not just the one that they're focusing on.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And so we are going to get into today, not extensively, because I know it's something I've gone off on many times in the past, and I know that it is something that many of you are not fans of. But I'm going to ask the question, and I'm going to ask it genuinely. Is what we saw Sunday, is that enough for you? Is that enough for you to come over to my side for even if not Team Robo-Ump? All right? Because to me, compromise is made by little steps. Compromise should be made by little steps. Or at least I think generally when compromise is made by little steps. Compromise is I start walking your way, you start walking mine. We meet in the middle beneath that old Georgia pine. We'll gain a lot of ground,
and then
but we'll both give a little.
Wow. No, I'm not going to. You're quoting a country
There ain't
song.
no road too long if we meet in the middle.
Oh, God.
In the middle.
I'm so glad your voice is messed up.
I can't wait. When I get it back on Friday, I might sing that whole song. When I stop sounding like a pack-a-day smoker, I might sing that whole song on the air out of celebration, out of raw jubilance.
What if it doesn't come back? What if this is your voice forever? Are you going to just go ahead and rough it up a little bit more?
Nah, going to voice acting. I feel like I could play a really good bad guy with this voice.
I
gotta tell you,
I've heard you play bad guys before. You're pretty good at it.
I'm pretty good at it. I wonder if I'd actually be successful if this was my regular voice. Maybe, what if I just do the whole show like this today? Do you think, so we got moved to this spot because Rob Brown brings the juice, the electricity. We've described this show as audio Red Bull. Do I just switch to this voice permanently?
Yeah, I don't really want to switch roles and be the energy guy. I'm pretty set into to the opposite of that right now. I don't want to have to. I mean, because I can. I just don't want to.
I don't know. I feel like the ladies might like it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sexy Sports with Rob Brown.
See, I don't know that's. I mean, I've heard the opposite when you were trying to be. This is.
Wait. We can test it. Hit the.
I don't know, man. This sounds really flimmy.
Hit the special music. Let's see. Let's test out this theory. This AM. Are any ladies of the Armada up and listening yet? You know, we got Carpool Mom. We got Miss April who listens every day.
You need to be careful. What are you doing, man? You could get beat up.
I don't think I'm going to get beat up for this. All right. Let's see how this goes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sexy Sports with Rob Brown and begrudgingly Lonzo. It's excellent to have you this morning. I want you to know we've been thinking about you all night. We couldn't wait to get in bright and early this morning and wake you up with the smooth, seductive stylings of the sports show of your dreams. Today on the show, we're talking National Football League. Kansas City knocking off the Buffalo Bills once again. And while there have been many complaints about officiating across the NFL, a group of broadcasters have decided to stand up and make their voices heard. Say at the end of the day, the Chiefs were just better. Are they better? That's up for you to decide. We'll break it down by both the opinion and the numbers coming up later today on the show.
All right. I want you to go back later
and
listen to when you changed that voice, because you were doing it one way, and then you can't do the sexy music without putting bass in it. Once you put bass in it, you change the voice you were doing.
I think I had bass in it from the beginning.
Oh, you did not. You
I think I
did not.
did.
You did not. Once the music got going, you remember that you got to put bass in there for it to be sexy, and that's what you did. It went from flimmy to sexy in there, and you listen. I mean, you can. It was like 2 lines in, suddenly the bass kicked in.
I think I think this is just my new voice now. I think this is just the Rob Brown Show now. This is just how it's going to be. I've been told I yell too much. I've been told I'm too loud. I've been told I'm too annoying. I'm too over the top in the mornings. Maybe we reel it back in just a little. Maybe we drop it down. Maybe we do Good Morning Sexy Sports with Rob Brown. I feel like we're onto something here. I also feel like there's no way in hell I'm lasting 4 hours doing that. I feel like after 10 minutes, I'd be driving myself up a freaking wall.
You've already drove yourself up that wall, so no, you couldn't.
And it's been 10 minits on the dot. I was right.
You weren't doing it for the entire 10 minutes. I mean, other than your voice being, because everyone's sciences are messed up right now. You got people sick out all over the building. Everyone's coughing and stuff. And I don't know if it's the dry heat, the cold weather combination. I don't know.
It's a dry heat.
Stop.
All right, we do have a lot to get to. We do have a lot to talk about, a lot to chat about on the radio broadcast today. So if you'd like to get into it, now is a wonderful time to do it. 844-326-3663. 844-FANFONE. How do you feel, Zoe? I don't know if you followed this story at all. You've been following this Jimmy Butler saga out of Miami at all? Has it popped up on your radar? I know we're kind of like, we're not really at the point where we have started to kind of dabble in the world of basketball, but we haven't really flipped our coverage over to be primarily basketball yet. Has this Jimmy Butler saga crossed your radar yet?
Yeah, I think we talked about it because he was on What the X wants. He wants out. But I don't know if he's done anything further to get himself out.
He has and he hasn't at the same time. So if you've not been following this Jimmy Butler saga, and I'm really only bringing it up because I find
like,
it kind of interesting.
32 or something like that. I mean, I don't know how much more he's got in him.
I mean, he's still playing like real high level basketball. He's 35, but he's still like he's got good basketball, like real good basketball left in him. And on top of that, we all know Jimmy Buckets he's a playoff jewel, right? Like Jimmy Buckets is the dude that for whatever reason, really good regular season player, exceptional playoff player. I don't have an explanation for it. Some guys are just built like that. Like when they get to the postseason, they just become a different dude. And that's Jimmy Butler. And he's like, this is why I think Jimmy Butler would be very valuable to a team like a Milwaukee or very valuable to a team like, a Phoenix, somebody that's like, they got some dudes, but they're maybe not quite at that Boston Celtics level. Houston, another team that's kind of right. Like they got some dudes, but they're not quite there. So this story about Jimmy Butler has been really interesting. Jimmy Butler wants out of Miami. First, it was a report that Jimmy Butler wanted out of Miami. Right? First, there was the report, as there always is. And then Jimmy's agent said, that's not true. And then Shams dropped the tweet that was like, I have confirmed that Jimmy Butler wants out. And his agent was like, nah, it's still not true. And then Jimmy Buckets got suspended for a little while because of team rules violations. And then Jimmy Butler came back and Jimmy Butler half-assed a basketball game or two. And then Jimmy Butler missed a flight with the Miami Heat, just didn't show up on time. So he got suspended for that. And then he came back. And now Jimmy Butler has been suspended by the Heat indefinitely because effectively he's just said, yeah, I don't really want to play anymore. I'm not gonna keep it 100 when I'm out there. I'm not gonna give you my best. I'm not going full tilt. Like I'm gonna do enough. I'm just gonna do enough. And obviously the Heat were like, yeah, enough's not enough. So we're gonna go ahead and take you off the roster. We're gonna go ahead and take you out of the rotation. We'll figure it out, but we're gonna figure it out without you before we move on. This whole story's wild because Jimmy Butler, who has obviously been with the Heat for a while now, kind of became the face of that organization to some degree, and now all of a sudden, and we have talked the last couple of years, everybody's talked the last couple of years about this concept of Heat culture, right? That Pat Riley Heat culture and how good it is and how much everybody else should emulate it. My question is this Heat culture, or do we jump on Jimmy B and be like, dude, you signed the contract, pal. Like, you signed the contract to play basketball. This is kind of one of those reasons that even though I know it would create some issues for me if I was a general manager, specifically in the NBA, even though I know it would create some issues, I really don't know how I feel about giving guys max length contracts. Like, you could end up in this spot where a guy one day just goes, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. And as much as I am always player empowerment, as much as I am always on the side of the players, which is why many of you, when we talk NIL and portal, by the way, I have some new Nick Saban audio to get you later on in the show too. Even though I am team player empowerment way more often than I'm not, there are some spots where I'm like, man, I don't know, right? Like, I'm player empowerment, but I also expect there to be some level of duty, some level of responsibility to the whole thing. Like, it feels to me like a lot of teams end up in these spots where they're dealing with stuff like this. And it is weird that I feel bad for the Miami Heat. I feel bad for the Heat. This is a crap situation because now they're at the point where, all right, Jimmy Buckets, you don't want to get it. You don't want to be here. We get it. But the price that Jimmy Buckets would command on the open market ain't real high anymore, right? Like, they know he's out. So unless there's just going to be big time competition for Jimmy Butler on the open market, the Heat gave Jimmy Butler everything. And I'm a Jimmy Butler fan. They gave Jimmy Butler everything that he wanted to keep him a member of this team. And now he's acting like this. And I genuinely don't know how I feel about it. I mean, not great. I know I don't feel great. We'll talk more about that in this whole situation later on in the show. We got some NFL to get to. I got a bunch of sound I want to play for you. It's going to be a busy day. My name is Rob Brown, the great one Lonzo on the ones and twos. Ladies and gentlemen, the Rob Brown Show is in your ear holes right here on the Fan Upstate. I want you to know, say her name and she appears. I believe in Miss April. But does say the regular voice is better. I don't know if I'm disappointed by that or not. I guess I shouldn't be. I shouldn't be disappointed by that.
You also said duty.
Okay, that's fair. I did say duty. All right, PRB. First break, as always.
I don't know why he's pretending to jog. I'm not buying it.
You know that always there joint pain that you've been dealing with, that joint pain that impacts you no matter how simple the task, maybe walking or climbing stairs or just getting in and out of the car? Hey, it's Rob Brown, and I have good news. QC Kinetics and their groundbreaking treatments for arthritis pain are here. Long-term relief is now possible with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments that are sweeping the nation. Tens of thousands of QC Kinetics patients will tell you, don't wait and make the call today to talk to the local medical professional.
I know I'm being quiet, but I'm looking for what the X stuff. Looking, seeing what's trending things.
QC Kinetics treatments prompt your body to heal and restore those damaged joints so you won't miss a beat and there is no downtime. Joint pain does not get better with time. So before it's absolutely debilitating, see if you're a candidate for these life-changing regenerative treatments. Call QC Kinetics today for your free consultation at 864-448-3772 in Greenville, in Asheville. 864-448-3772. It's QC Kinetics.
Hey, this is Diesel, and I am fired up because I've just gotten into playing Underdog, which is now available to play right here in South Carolina. Without a doubt, this is the most fun and easy way to cash in on your favorite athletes' performances. You think Mahomes will throw for higher than 3 touchdowns, or Luka will score lower than 30 tonight? Play an entry and cash in. And for somebody like me who's new to Champs entry, it couldn't
So,
be any easier.
I went back to pull the video of Raja being in here last week,
Mm-hmm.
and the audio on the StreamYard video is bad. And I don't know why that is. Like, all the other segments are fine, but it's like when we cracked 2 mics, it just didn't work.
Because you turn your head.
No, like it was
No,
honestly
no,
more when he
listen.
was talking.
Well, I was going to say you turn your head when there's a guest in there, and
Yeah.
I think both mics pick you up.
Okay. One of the things that I need to do, I think, is come up with a way to have a camera over there so that when we have a guest in studio, they can have their own camera and monitor so that we
We
can.
normally do, but you didn't ask me to use my laptop. You figured out a solution, and I
Thought I
wanted to
did.
see if it would work. I mean,
For the
la-
record,
the last couple of times we've had guests in, we used my laptop over there. This time you wanted to try your thing, and so I just let you do your thing. We've used
it
my
would have worked.
my
except
laptop
for
with my extra camera is what we've been using. So
it would have worked perfectly, actually, except for whatever reason, on the tablet, it considers StreamYard a call and it will not mute the volume on that. Even when I muted the tablet, it still played the volume from the stream. And that I don't know how to fix, because on the computer, you just mute the website, but you don't have that option on the tablet.
it doesn't do that on the phone, though. If you do StreamYard on the phone, it doesn't
Yeah.
do that. So that's weird. Maybe it's the kind of tablet.
I don't know, but it is something that now that I say that and think about it in retrospect, because I tried to pull it last night, it's something I need to research.
Because I've had people do an entire show on their phone on StreamYard and
Yeah.
not have that problem. So
All right, let's find that promo so we can. We told him about it. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob, the great one, Lonzo, and he'll be a part of the radio broadcast by giving us a buzz this AM 844-326-3663. That's the number to be a part of the show. Honestly, I don't even know where I want to jump in yet. I don't know where I want to start. That we had around the National Football League yesterday. We had head coaches being introduced. We had Pete Carroll getting introduced. We had Brian Schottenheimer getting introduced down in Dallas. We had Aaron Glenn being introduced up in New York. We had a lot of different guys get introduced as the new HC of their NFL franchises. And there's a lot of interest that came out of a lot of these press conferences. I don't feel good about the amount of time that we have spent talking about the Dallas Cowboys on this show. However, I'm going to do it again. And let me tell you why I'm going to do it again. It's not because of the Dallas Cowboys, though it is going to feel that way to most, if not all of you.
you know, it does sound like you're following the the Super Society playbook that I mentioned.
I told you, buddy. We get our text message every morning. It comes in at 5:59 a.m. It's like, here's your list.
Wow.
You should see the amount of stuff that I build up just assuming it's probably going to be on the Secret Society play sheet, and it's not, right? It's like a quarterback who spends all week practicing to throw a solid fade, and then coach never pulls it off the play sheet. You're like, why'd I spend all that time practicing? But, when Romo sends me the text in the AM, he's the one that's in charge, by the way. When Romo sends me the text in the AM, you pull the trigger on what you get told to pull the trigger on, man. That's just kind of how it goes. You got to do what's in the Secret Society playbook. It's not up to me. It's not up to us. If they send the text, you read it. All right. You respond to it. You come up with your take. And you roll on. That's just how this goes. Yesterday, Brian Schottenheimer, not Marty Schottenheimer, Brian Schottenheimer, the former OC of the Dallas Cowboys, was officially and formally named and introduced as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I want to start with the side of the argument that nobody has really gotten to yet. And the side of the argument I want to get to is this. If Jerry Jones turns out to be right, because JJ and his boy Steven had a lot to say yesterday. Jerry Jones said, for instance, when asked about making the risky hire of a OC who does not have any HC experience at any level, Jerry said, I didn't get where I am by not taking a bunch of risk. He said, I've gotten where I am by taking shots, quote, and not shoddy shots, just regular shots. I know we meant shoddy as in like not well put together, but it was hilarious to hear him say shoddy shots.
There's a gun in Starfield called a shoddy.
Well, that's a very popular linguistic term for a shotgun is a shoddy.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's a very
I've learned something today.
It's a very linguistic nickname
So
for a shotgun.
The street or is just that's
Well, a shotgun is a shoddy, but then if you have like a semi-auto rapid fire, they call that a street sweeper. If you've ever heard that term before.
I have not.
Nelly rapped in a song once, going down, baby, your street in a Range Rover street sweeper, baby, cocked, ready to let it go. Shimmy, shimmy, cuckoo, what? Listen to me now. Light it up and take a puff. Pass it to me now.
That guy
It's
doesn't
Nelly.
seem violent. So why would he be singing or rapping about violence?
Nelly's from St. Louis, baby. You
Yeah.
don't mess with Nelly. He a G. I love Nelly. That whole album, Country Grammar, I listened to that stuff. Bumped it on repeat for about a year and a half back
Looks
in the
like
day.
a fine, upstanding businessman.
Shimmy, shimmy, cocoa, what? Listen to me now. All right, that's enough. That's enough Rob doing Nelly on the show this morning. I've completely and thoroughly embarrassed myself.
Well, I'm glad.
No one wearing these glasses should be allowed
Well,
to rap
I'm glad
Nelly.
you pointed out what it was because I'm just guessing the majority of the audience has no clue what you're doing.
That's okay. That's all right. The dudes.
They probably know the country song you were singing earlier more so than that song.
The dudes.
How old is that Nelly song?
That song would have dropped when I was in high school, so circa 2001, 2002.
Wow.
So
Wow. So it's a
20
classic.
plus years
It's
now.
a classic.
I'm just saying, the dudes in their early 40s were like, damn, Rob Brown. Way to put Nelly back into the mind. Way to put Nelly back into the Spotify rotation. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say it now. That's all I'm listening to the rest of the day. I'm just listening to Country Grammar the rest of the day. All right. Anyway, the reason I keep bringing up the Dallas Cowboys is obviously Jerry and Steven Jones. Now, there's another reason that I bring it up. It is because the issue that is being dealt with right now by the Dallas Cowboys is an issue that every NFL franchise, yes, even yours, can, will, probably has, probably will again at some point have to deal with. And that is terrible ownership, just terrible ownership, just awful, terrible, no good, very bad ownership. It is an unfortunate reality that eventually you will end up falling into. There's a couple of different angles I want to take. First off, if you haven't seen this press conference, even if you're not a Cowboys fan, it's worth watching if only for Steven Jones, who was brought up with his dad to go up there and act. Now, I want to say this. I do not get on Stephen Jones's case because Stephen Jones is daddy's boy. All right. I don't care. It does whatever that it's a what's the one where it's you're handed benefits because of family?
Nepotism.
Nepotism. He's a Nepo baby, but I'm not on his case because he's a Nepo baby. All right. Not at all. I got jobs when I was in high school and whatnot because my dad owned a business and was able to give me one. Now, granted, my dad kicked my ass, but I get it. I'm on him because he's also bad at his job, whatever his job is. He ain't the GM. He ain't the owner. I don't really know what he is. But yesterday,
Maybe his job is being a good son.
Well, he's not doing that either. All right. He's not doing that because if he was doing that, at some point, he would have to grab his dad by the shirt collars and go, Dad, I love you. You're a great man. I hope to be like you one day. But the entire world's laughing at you right now. Everyone is laughing at you right now because us. What I learned yesterday, Lonzo, is that Stephen Jones doesn't know what air quotes are. Because he said at one point, as he was talking, and Jim and Jerry were both going off. In fact, I've got a clip I have to get your approval to play it on air from Jerry Jones.
Uh-oh.
Okay? It's one of the funniest things I've ever heard. I think it flies. I don't know if you will or not. We'll find out. And ultimately, you're the one with the no button. So we'll see. But Jerry Jones, who made some hilarious comments, turned it over to Stephen Jones, and Stephen was being asked, how do you end the drought that the Dallas Cowboys are in right now? For those of you that maybe don't have the stats memorized, it has been 29 years. It has been 29 years since the Dallas Cowboys have gone to the NFC Championship game. Okay? In that same period of time, great one. Let me ask you this question. How many, how would you describe the Carolina Panthers in that same period of time? Like the entire length of the last 29 years. Of course, of which a chunk of them, they didn't exist.
Well, there were moments of joy.
Sure.
But everything else was nothing but utter disappointment.
I think that's fair. Hey, Jerry, just so we're keeping track, and I'm using that team, obviously, because it's the team we cover. But I think also when people think Carolina Panthers, they think like Alonzo does. Yeah, they've had some moments for sure. But overall, it's been a pretty middle of the pack experience. The Carolina Panthers have been to 4 NFC championship games in the time period since the last time the Dallas Cowboys went to one. The last time the Dallas Cowboys went to a championship game, Rob Brown was 10 years old. I turned 40 in less than a month, just so we're kind of pointing out what it is, right? Stephen Jones took to the mic yesterday and was asked, how do you plan on ending the drought of the Dallas Cowboys? And he said, and I'm not even going to give you the whole answer, just the important part, Lonzo. He said, and as far as this drought that everybody says we're experiencing, and he dropped the air quotes around the word drought. I don't think he knows what air quotes are for. Air quotes are for when somebody says a thing that is not the reality and you're mocking them for it. Stephen, it has been 29 years since you've won anything of significance.
I don't know that air quotes are necessarily sarcastic, are they?
They are inherently sarcastic.
I mean, isn't this a way to get around going quote unquote?
No.
It's not. Because all right.
Air quotes are when you are, like, by definition, being sarcastic about something. For instance, if I was to say Lonzo has bad hair, I would air quote bad hair because everybody knows you have good hair. And I'm obviously saying the opposite. And this is a way to point out this is the same as saying I'm being sarcastic. Air quotes.
All the old people who stare at me when I walk in the grocery store would believe that's true.
Well, they all think you're a big time hippie.
Yeah, or a hoodlum.
The point here is this. When Stephen threw those air quotes up around the word drought, when the Dallas media said, my dude, how are you guys going to end the drought? It has been 29 years since you've been to a conference championship game. How are you going to end the drought? And he air quoted drought. Do you know what it said to me? What it said to me is They honestly don't think anything is wrong. They genuinely don't think anything is wrong. Okay? Now, that wasn't the only issue yesterday. There was also the fact that they introduced a guy that everyone in the NFL world went, Brian Schottenheimer? Right? Shotty? Brian Schottenheimer, that's the guy you want to go with. Now, I do want to start by saying this. If Brian Schottenheimer, son of legendary head coach Marty Schottenheimer, ends up being a good coach, Jerry Jones is going to look like a genius. I mean, not really, because again, it's been 29 years since they've won anything, and he's been in charge the entire time. Remember, he fired Jimmy Johnson for one reason alone. It's because JJ had all the decision-making power, and Jerry wanted it. And he's had it since then, and they've done nothing since then. They have failed after failed after failed after failed year after year. If he ends up being right about Brian Schottenheimer, he's going to look like, I don't want to say a genius. He'll look like he's a little bit redeemed. But here's the problem. We all know that's not why he hired Brian Schottenheimer. He hired Brian Schottenheimer because nobody else was giving that guy a shot, and he's going to step in and be a Jerry yes man once again, and Jerry doesn't have to pay him all that much, yada, 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 yada. Why are you bringing up Dallas again, Rob? Because your owner, and I know this, because it is happening to my NFL franchise right now, and it is going to ruin my team for the rest of my life. If my team doesn't go to an NFC championship game for 30 years, that means I will be 70 if we ever get back to one. And I am watching my team go through the same crap right now, just from a different angle. And I'm going to tell you why it could happen to yours too. And I will do that when we come back.
You got a Super Bowl, man. What more do you quit? Stop being greedy.
What more do I want?
Stop being greedy.
Another one.
Stop being greedy.
Another one. I always said if the Saints ever win a Super Bowl, I will die happy. I lied a lot. I want another one. All right, we'll talk about this and how it could impact your NFL franchise when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. DB, what up, brother? Welcome in. Zach, good to have you. How's LSU supposed to be next season? They're supposed to be family.
That's what they're.
I regret that. Uh, 15 seconds.
No way he's back in 15. I mean, why does he put a timer on himself? I don't know. Good morning, Michael.
This is your home for Paladins basketball. Follow all the action live right here in the Fan Upstate. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and listen anywhere on your phone. Chuck Sanders on the Fan Upstate.
Up to the minute upstate traffic. At this report, there are no traffic issues or delays in the upstate. Today, Main Street from Court to Broad will be closed until noon for the dismantling of the Eyes on Main event setup. East Plaquemines Mills Road to the Cleveland Street extension is closed from Woodward, Mohawk Drive, and Shakespeare Road from Wade Park to Delaney's Court to have periods of closure throughout the day.
It's longer than 15 seconds. Quit putting
Barely.
Quit putting a time limit on yourself.
Barely.
Just promise to be back before the break's over. That's all I care about.
I make no promises. I found that if you make promises, you break promises. All right, let's see if I can get this.
Michael, I'm kind of like waiting for the next game for me, but I'm an open world guy. So Avowed comes out in like a couple weeks on Game Pass. And the best part about something like that, it could be good, it could be bad, but you're already paying for the subscription. And if it's not good, you just take it off your console and move on to something else. I unfortunately play too much of the same game sometimes because of mods. Mods make the game new all over again. And there are like 4 new games coming out on Game Pass in the next couple months that I plan on trying. FanDuel did an edit of nothing but sad Josh Allen. Poor Josh Allen.
My guy. Heartbroken.
I still think he's all right. He's enjoying Cancun.
Now, just to kind of clue you in on how it's going for Dallas fans. And again, I do have a point to this. Stick with me here. It was announced last Friday, got to get down on Friday. Late at night, by the way, which you know the reason that news drops late at night on a Friday. So it gets lost in the sauce, right? Because we as America, as Americans, well, as America, but we as Americans have the attention span of like a very excited puppy, right?
America.
A thing happens, and then within like 10 minutes, we're just on to the next thing. That's just how we
I
work.
don't know if you speak for all Americans, but okay, maybe a good portion of it.
It is a good representation, I think, of America to say we have the attention span of an ADHD puppy. Okay. So if you want something to be announced, but to like disappear rapidly, you drop it late at night on a Friday because a lot of people have gone to bed. Everybody else is out enjoying their Friday nights. By the time we roll around, crazy things have happened in the world overnight on Friday and nobody cares about your thing anymore. Here is the host of a very popular radio show. When he found out that Brian Schottenheimer is the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, I gotta change my thing over. Here is here is the host of a very popular radio program when he found out that Brian Schottenheimer was hired.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Brian Schottenheimer? What a freaking joke. If this freaking organization wasn't already enough of a freaking joke, Brian Schottenheimer, the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, this has got to be April freaking Fools or something. Brian Schottenheimer. That's the best we can do, Jerry? Come on. This is a slap in the face to every Cowboys fan in America, in the world. Jerry Jones is a joke. This whole organization's a joke. Brian Schottenheimer. Get out of here.
First of all, I'm going to have to talk to him about his profanity. It's a potty mouth, man. I mean, he needs to calm down. And second of all, you're a Cowboys fan. What'd you expect? I mean, you know.
My poor guy, Cole Bryson, host of Wire to Wire with Cole Bryson and Diesel every afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. right here on the Fan Upstate. Look, I sincerely did have to listen to that social media post about 7 times to make sure that one of those freakins wasn't up somewhere in there that I missed. Okay, because Cole was living on the edge a little bit. Cole was right there on the edge. And I know that this was a real moment for CB because my dude walked outside of his house in his like generic Nike t-shirt.
Wow, why you got a crack on his attire?
I'm not. Listen, if you get a social media post from Rob Brown that late at night, you're lucky I'm wearing pants. All right. Cole Bryson walked outside of his house because he just had to get that out. And I get it. I understand it. It was treating social media as his therapy session. And I respect that. I just
Are you
utilized
saying we need
my
to
show.
do a wellness check on Cole?
I did. I'm not kidding. I talked to Cole on Saturday. I was like, hey, bro, Brian Schottenheimer. And let's just say that I had to roll with the social media post instead of the recorded phone call with Cole Bryson because the recorded phone call would have required some editing.
Wait a minute. You recorded a phone call when you talked?
No, I'm being sarcastic.
Well, some people might have took that as serious. So I don't know. Why would you call him? It sounds like you're doing it just to gloat.
No,
just to listen to his pain.
I had an actual question to ask him, but like it was, I like to, Lonzo knows this. I like to have conversations with people. Lonzo walks in the building every day and I'm like, hi. He doesn't like it all the time.
Yeah,
How'd you get it?
That's not necessary. I mean, we see each other more than we see other people half the time.
That's
So
also true.
You don't need to talk. Every time when your wife walks in a room, do you have to talk to her every single time she walks in a room?
Pretty much.
Wow.
Pretty much.
That's got to get annoying.
It's the ADHD. So here is why, for those of you that have continued to ask, like, why do you keep bringing this team up? The answer is because right now,
Secret society.
the Dallas Cowboys are the illustration of how things can go very badly for your football team if the people who run it are inept. And I think at this point, I am happy to say we got it. Like Dallas fans, it is time to face the reality and the reckoning that you can't be good until I used to say the Al Davis zone, like you can't be good until your owner dies. But I think it's worse than that. I don't think you can be good until the Jones family sells the team, because Steven came out yesterday and echoed every single thing that Jerry had to say. So unless Steven is just doing and saying whatever it is that Jerry wants to hear to not disown him and kick him out of the family, you're getting more the same when Jerry moves on to the great stadium in the sky and Steven takes over. It's unfortunate, but true. Jeff Kavanaugh is a name that if you've been listening to the show for any length of time, you know who it is. Jeff Kavanaugh is a host of the DAL podcast. It is run by our Odyssey brother station in Dallas. It is their spinoff podcast just about the Cowboys. And Kavanaugh said, there's a problem in Dallas.
You will never win if you don't try to have the best coach. The idea that anybody could do it is exactly what they're executing right now. Anybody that I like could win a Super Bowl with this team. And honestly, I don't think he believes he can win a Super Bowl. I think it's just anybody I like can drive massive profit margins for the Dallas Cowboys. And we'll be relevant, and enough people like my yuckity, and enough people think that I'm cute and the brand has grown so big that I don't have to do crap for you. I don't have to do anything. I can disrespect my entire fan base directly to their face. I can do it with a smile and then get defiant anytime somebody brings up a way in which I have failed that everybody predicted because it was so easy to see what was wrong with my football team. All of that, I can do it, and I can giggle my happy ass all the way to the bank, hire a guy that nobody else cares to hire, pay him as little as possible, meddle in any way that I want, knowing damn well I won't win. But you know what will happen? You'll pay me over and over and over. He sucks at his job.
Yeah, that's the take. And I don't have a problem with that take because he's spot on. There are teams who end up in spots, and I've pointed this out to you before, where the ownership is interested in the bottom line and nothing else. Now, this part of it really only applies to this particular team. Unfortunately, this reality is more true about the brands. You know the brands I'm talking about. The Yankees, the Lakers, the Cowboys, the biggest brands in American sports. Because at the end of the day, you're going to keep giving them the dollars. And as long as JJ's making the dollars, he's going to keep doing it his way. Even when his way has failed for 30 years, for 3 decades, his way has failed. I've told the story before about, and part of the reason I think I'm so passionate about this is at the Senior Bowl circa 2014, 15, somewhere in that range. I was in the hotel. I was covering the Senior Bowl for one of my old stations, and back when it was Yahoo Sports Radio, and I was at the hotel where the Senior Bowl kind of festivities are centered. And at the time, this was back when Roman Harper played for the New Orleans Saints. His brother Brian's a dear friend of mine, used to host the show with me. And I was going to hang out with Brian, who was going to hang out with Roman, who was going to hang out with Sean Payton, who was going to hang out with Jerry Jones because they're buddies. And I ended up in an elevator, happened to leaving my floor to go down to the hotel or to the restaurant we were meeting at. And I ended up on an elevator with Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones asked me before how you doing? How's life? What's your name? I'm Jerry Jones. Nice to meet you. Jerry Jones said, hey, son, you bought your season ticket to the Cowboys yet? I said, sorry, Jerry. I'm a Saints fan. He said, well, that doesn't mean we don't have a beautiful stadium. You can come over and enjoy. I said, well, Jerry, I live over in Pensacola, Florida. I'm like 8 hours, and I'm a Saints fan. And he said, well, how about some Cowboys gear? You bought some Cowboys gear yet? I said, Jerry Jones, respectfully, I'm a Saints fan. And he goes, well, you got to have members of your family that are Cowboys fans. You bought them any Cowboys gear yet? All this man thought about was, how am I going to milk a few bucks out of this random ass 25-year-old kid? Okay, 35-year-old kid. However old. No, it's 25. 25-year-old kid hanging out in a hotel lobby, obviously working. Like, he ain't here because he's NFL royalty. Right? All he cared about was milking it just to get me to buy a sweatshirt, just to get me to buy a hoodie, right? It's all he ever has on the brain. And granted, that's the mindset that got him rich enough to buy the Dallas Cowboys, but it's also the mindset that prevents you from winning. And there's the opposite side of the spectrum too, right? There, I brought it up. There's my owner. There's Gail Benson, owner of the New Orleans Saints. When Tom Benson, the owner, died, originally, the team was supposed to go to his daughter, Rita LeBlanc Benson, who genuinely loves the team and is a wonderful businesswoman. Instead, Gail sued, and she basically was able to convince a judge that Tom lost his mind in his old age. And what he really meant to say was, give it to my wife. And she took over the team. She had a coup in court, took over the team. And Gail Benson doesn't give a damn about the success or failure of the football team. Gail cares about one thing. Gail cares that she's able to remain a highfalutin member of New Orleans society. She can still go to the Mardi Gras balls and be a member of the Mardi Gras cruise and get invited to all the big galas and all that. And she has zero interest in running a football team. And so what's happened is she has left Mickey Loomis, a man that nobody in the NFL wants to work for. And you can tell that, by the way, that we don't have a head coach. We're the only team in the NFL without a head coach today. Everybody else introed their head coaches. We don't even have, not only do we not have one, we conducted an interview 2 days ago with the only head coaching hire that I know that is still available, the offensive coordinator of the New York Giants. The team ranked 31st in overall offense last year. That's the guy we're talking to.
Maybe your team is looking for someone from Philly or for Kansas City, and they're just waiting. And maybe they're doing it properly, because you're not supposed to contact those teams, I don't think, until after the Super Bowl. So
we're not. And even if we were, the one guy that was remaining going into the AFC and NFC championship game weekend, Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, he straight up removed himself from these. Like, no, I'm good. And so did Aaron Glenn and a bunch of other guys. And the reason why
team wants Steve Spagnuolo,
we don't. And even if we did, it doesn't matter. No one worth a damn is saying yes to us right now, because we're $60 million over the cap. We got a GM who doesn't know what the hell he's doing and hasn't for a very long time. Yeah, he got us a Lombardi 15 years ago, but not a thing since then. And Gail Benson's not involved at all, right? The point here is your ownership can drag you down if they do not care about the team. And you can prove that pretty much by pointing to the Washington Commanders at this point. We talked a little bit about this going in to the NFC Championship game weekend, that even if the Commanders don't beat the Eagles, and they didn't, even if they don't beat the Eagles, does anybody think this Commanders team is a one and done? I don't. I think they're going to be around for a while. And it's not to say they're going to become like a dynasty in the NFL, but I think they're going to be around for a while. And it is not a coincidence that it is the season after Dan Snyder got pushed out of the NFL. He was another one of the owners who did not care about the success or failure of the football team. He cared about one thing and one thing alone. He cared about his own enrichment via the football team. They went and let Josh Harris buy the team. Josh cares about it. Magic Johnson cares about winning. That's why he's Magic Johnson. And all of a sudden, the Commanders are on the verge of becoming a very special team in the NFL. When I watch this situation play out, when I listen to here's Brian Schottenheimer, and again, I'm probably grasping at straws here, but it is what it is. Here's Brian Schottenheimer with his first opportunity to speak to the players yesterday. Here's how he sounded.
You are the core of this program, and we will focus on you every day. To Dak, JT, JB, Demo, Brock, T-Sizz, Josh Butler, Kalen, Carson, Scooney, you're back there. I don't know if anybody else snuck in that I missed. It means the world to me that you guys are here. And I can't wait to do this alongside you, to get to know you guys at an even deeper level. I want to get to know your hearts. I want to capture your hearts and let you guys get a great feel for me. But thank you for being here.
Okay. I mean, it's not bad.
It's
fine.
What was wrong with that?
But are you fired up?
He already has a rapport with the core of the team, and they care about him so much that they showed up at the press conference. I don't see why that's a bad thing.
When I put that, because again, context is everything. When I put that into the context of the complete and entire lack of anything exciting about this, it just comes across as a guy who's happy to be here. Just happy to be here. And then when I put that in comparison with he's here because nobody else was going to hire him, and we all know he's going to say yes to JJ and take very little money to do it. Good luck, Dallas. You're about to toil in mediocrity for another 3 years.
And I know this is very selfish, and I know I just don't care about
I know
Dallas.
you don't. I know you don't.
And I don't know why. Anyway.
This is a segment that has nothing to do with you because your team's kicking ass with a great owner. It doesn't matter to you.
Okay. All
right? This matters to people like me whose teams stink. And our teams stink because of decision-making from the very top. It matters to teams like me. It matters to teams that are toiled in mediocrity because you are led by a bunch of pushover know-nothings. Of course, you're happy, right? All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk more about this in the next hour. Water Cooler Cheap Shit up next. We are going to be rolling through the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Also, Sports Flush.
All I know is you played a sound where a guy said yuckity.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Whatever that is. The South Carolina women's basketball team knocked off number 18 Tennessee last night, 70-63. Chloe Kitts, Raven Johnson, and Tiana Paopao all had 10 points in starting roles, while the Gamecocks were led by Joyce Edwards, 18 off the bench. The Gamecocks are now 20-1, but remain number 2 in the polls behind undefeated UCLA, who handed the Gamecocks their only loss. Charlotte Hornets guard LaMelo Ball left last night's 112-107 loss to the LA Lakers with a rolled ankle and did not return. Ball knocked down a 3 and was running backwards down the court when he stepped on a foot of a Laker and fell backward and hit his head, also known as backwards. Tune in tomorrow at 5:30 as the Furman Paladins take on the Sanford Bulldogs. Furman versus Sanford right here on your home for Furman Paladins basketball. The Fan, Upstate. Yuckity, yuckity. Don't recall ever hearing anyone say yuckity. Yakety, yeah, but yuckity, no. So apparently I can't have a valid opinion just because my team's winning. They weren't always winning.
You're probably gonna start a fight. No, this can't be right. Hey, baby, come on. I loved you endlessly, but you weren't meant for me. So now I've got to leave and make it alone. I know that I can't take no more. It ain't no lie.
I hate when I don't know the song because I don't know if you're doing it correctly or not.
Out that door, baby. Bye, 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 bye.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I do know the song, but I didn't know all the words. Glad to know your boy band phase is still with you somewhere.
I'll never leave. It's unfortunately an integral part of my raising.
Hey, like what you like, I guess.
For sure.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more glue.
That's a good point, Jacob.
Without congestion, try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed. The Fan.
Upstate. WORD Spartanburg. W249DL3.
W246CB Spartanburg. Sports Nation.
And check this out.
You're on official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents me a win.
Yeah. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
My boy bands were like New Edition. I am older. So, I mean, you know, if you want to sing Cool It now, I mean, I'm there.
And away we go, ladies and gentlemen. Our number 2 of the Rob Brown Show starts right now, right here on the Fan Upstate. How do you do, Upstate South Carolina? Hello, America. What up, world? Great to have you back. As we roll on through the foremost electrifying hours in sports, talk, entertainment, you'll find anywhere this early in the morning. I am Rob Brown, the great Malonzo on the other side of the metaphorical glass. If you want to be a part of the show, this is an excellent time to do it at 844-326-3663. 844-FANFONE is the number to call in. It is also the number to text in to the radio broadcast. Shoot us a text at 844-326-3663. Just create a contact in your telephone right now. Call it the Fan Upstate and add the number 844-326-3663. That way you can call or text the show on demand. I may or may not have made this clear over the almost 5 years I've been here, but the Armada is not only welcomed to, you are encouraged to participate in the radio program any time that you would like to. We've got a lot more we need to get to. We're talking a lot of NFL on the radio broadcast today, as obviously our NFC and AFC championship games are now in the rear view mirror. We have just one more competitive football game left before football season departs us for 2024-2025, and we move on into the off season. Of course, we do have the NFL Pro Bowl coming up this weekend. Here's my question. Zoe, are we going to spend another year listening to people complain about how it's not fun, about how it's not enjoyable, about how it's bad, and we should go back to the old Pro Bowl format, and these guys should be asked to play an actual NFL game? Or do you think this might be the year that people finally decide maybe it's okay to just enjoy fun things sometimes?
So you're asking if people will complain? Absolutely,
Yes.
they're going to complain.
We have on Thursday night the skills competition. We will see the Pro Bowl quarterbacks and wide receivers and running backs and offensive linemen and defensive linemen compete in a variety of different field day events for our perusement, enjoyment, and entertainment. And then, of course, on Saturday, we have the Pro Bowl flag football game, which I'm going to tell you, I'm kind of a fan of. It's kind of fun to watch freak athletes go out there and like be allowed to enjoy the game instead of, have to take every aspect of it seriously. It's fun to watch them goof off. And if you haven't watched it, the boys get competitive.
Yeah,
they want to win.
I've always enjoyed the quarterback challenge. I really like that. I like the lineman thing too. That's really cool.
The relay race they run where everybody gets involved at the end it's a blast, dude. It's a lot of fun. Like, it's enjoyable. And granted, it is ordinarily made better when we have characters cast with personality out there. The year of last year, Jason Kelce's retirement year, his farewell season, when he was out there, dude, he was a riot just being Jason Kelce. And then everyone else out there kind of celebrating him in his farewell. It just made it fun. It's just fun. So I'm interested to see how many people are going to complain about allowing NFL guys to go out there and just goof off and have a good time versus, no, do it the way I want you to do it. But we'll get to that later on in the week. What we have to get to right now is the water cooler cheat sheet, because you are less than right at 54 minutes away from having to get into the office and be a professional and tighten up that tie and make sure that jacket is straight and pretend like you want to be there. What you really want to do is talk sports. And if you really want to talk sports, you got to know what's going on in the world of sports. And if you got to know what's going on in the world of sports, you need this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers say, "Burn it down! Burn it down!" Take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It is the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office this AM and start talking sports with your coworkers. Let's dive right in with our number 1. Let's go with this. We won't spend a ton of time on it, but NASCAR could be making a major change to its playoff format, and it could be coming down the line as early as 2026. Yesterday, NASCAR Executive Vice President and Chief Racing Development Officer John Probst said that no changes are coming 2025, but the playoff format will be reconsidered ahead of the 2026 season. The Daytona 500 is on February 16th. Probst said, "I don't think we want to get in the habit of making small little tweaks every season to the playoffs. Where we landed was for 2025, not making any changes to the playoffs. Throughout the course of the year, we will get a working group together with some media folks, OEMs, Goodyear, drivers. We probably talk to most of the folks one-on-one about where are we at, what are we thinking?" And basically, we look at that as a work stream for a group of our stakeholders this year to look at it holistically. That's a lot of words to say. We're talking about it. We're talking about it, and we're including everybody in the mist. We're talking about the drivers on the track. We're talking to the engineers that are putting these cars together. We're talking to the media who cover this event, cover our sport, and are our mouthpiece to the fans and the fans' mouthpiece back to the sport. Basically said they are looking at everybody. The current playoff format has 16 drivers qualifying for a 10-race chase broken up over 4 rounds. The field of playoff drivers is cut from 16 to 12, 12 to 8, from 8 to the championship 4, who run the last few races for points to be declared the champion. It has been the structure of the playoffs since 2014, and there haven't been any significant modifications since 2017 when stage racing and playoff points were introduced. But Probst said NASCAR has heard from stakeholders who love the playoffs as is and people who hate the current format and those in the middle. He also did go on to say there's no guarantee anything will be altered, but quote, we just didn't get to a point where we felt like we have to do it, but we hear the fans loud and clear and are currently looking at it actively, end quote. So this is interesting in that it is being talked about. It is being discussed. They are including representatives from every element of the NASCAR world. Now, they are not directly including fans in this conversation, but I also would be willing to suspect that the fans who, the impression I get as a NASCAR guy is that about half the fans despise the current playoff setup. About 20% of the fans are like, whatever. And, the rest of them are okay with it, are fine with it, right? I don't really know any NASCAR fans right now who have ever said anything in the realm of they feel like the current playoff structure is a good way to determine a champ. I actually do. I do. Wins are important. Wins should be rewarded. Wins should be celebrated. Winning is not easy. But we have also created a world in NASCAR where there has never been more equality from car to car, driver to driver. There just hasn't. These guys are running almost the exact same equipment. The difference being obviously that the smaller teams maybe don't have the R&D that the big teams do to make the tanker. They maybe don't have the same experience of crew chief that the big teams do that can make the in-race adjustments, whatever. But overall, I think the current playoff system for NASCAR is a pretty good one. It rewards long-term success, consistent performance, but also props you up if you get dubs. And getting dubs should still be the primary goal. I think a lot of fans have complained over the years because there are spots where drivers drive to keep their car in one piece, not to win races. It used to be that guys were more than happy to wreck each other out coming out of turn 4 because nothing was more important than the checkers. But we are kind of at a point now where you could make the argument that gathering points, collecting points race by race might be as important as getting checkered flags. And we reward that. So I don't know. We'll see if anything ends up changing down the pipe, but that is at least on the radar. Let's get to item number 2. For those of you like me that are beginning to pick up your collegiate basketball discussions, this is a big one. Caleb Love hit a game-tying heave from beyond half court at the end of regulation, which brought Arizona to a tied ball game with number 3 Iowa State last night. A more than half-court three-pointer with time expired found the bottom of the strings, and the Sun Devils were able to take the 2-loss number 3 Cyclones to overtime, and they got him. Caleb Love started 1 for 10 from behind the arc in this game. He hit a longer than half-court heave to send it into overtime. He then ended up with 2 more three-pointers in overtime, finished with 22 points in an 86-75 win over number 3 Iowa State. It looked like the Cyclones were just going to do it again. Josh Jefferson hit 1 of 2 free throws with 2.2 seconds remaining to give them a 3-point lead, and it felt like it was over. But off the inbound, Love took 2 dribbles, hit a banker from 70 feet out behind the midcourt logo. The place erupted. The momentum was at that point all in favor of Arizona. They would end up going into OT and getting the win, outscoring Iowa State 15-4 in the extra time period. 22 points from Caleb Love, 17 from Toby Awaka. This Arizona team at 14-6 is kind of one of those teams that I'm turning an eye to. Not in that I think they're like a national championship contender, but I do think they are one of those quiet, good teams. I think they're one of those sneaky teams that could have a real say and who the 1 seeds are, they are a team that is absolutely, when we get to bracket filling time, a team that I would be interested in their potential to come up with a big time upset. This team's interesting. And on top of that, Iowa State, who came into the day ranked number 3, is now going to take a bit of a tumble as a 4-loss team. So we'll keep an eye on that. But that's the biggest result in men's college basketball. For the biggest result in women's college basketball, we go to item number 3. 70-63, the South Carolina Gamecocks knock off the number 18 ranked Tennessee Lady Volunteers yesterday. A trio of starters, Chloe Kitts, Raven Johnson, and Tahina Paopao, all had 10 points. Joyce Edwards knocked down 18 off the bench. Malaysia Fawali had 11 off the bench for the Gamecocks last night. They shot 46% from the floor, 6 of 21 from range. The problem was in this game, and this is something I'm keeping an eye on, 17 turnovers in this contest. And we knew this was going to be a problem for Dawn's girls coming into this year. They lost the majority of their rebounding prowess last offseason. We knew that rebounding was likely to create issues for the Gamecocks this year. They got out-rebounded last night, 49-40. They also turned it over 17 times and took it back 13, -4 in the turnover department. So how did they end up winning this game in which they allowed Tennessee to put up 24 in the fourth quarter to their 13? The answer was on defense. They shot 46% from the floor. Pretty good night. They held Tennessee on their own court to 30.7%, 23 of 75, and just 3 of 26 from behind the arc. That is less than 12%. If you are going to struggle getting boards, and we knew that this Lady Gamecock team under Dawn Staley this year, not because they're not good, but just because of the fact that their rebounding prowess all went to the W last year, you're going to have to play excellent defense. And last night, Dawn Staley's gals slapped the court, got down and dirty, played a little D, and got the dub on the road over a number 18 Tennessee team because of it. We're going to talk a lot more college basketball as the show rolls on. But when we come back, after this season, after this game between the Chiefs and the Bills, I'm going to ask once again, will you join me in my crusade to have the National Football League and every other professional sports league in America officiated by technology? Are we now, if most of you believe, not as many as last week, but most of you still do believe that there are issues with officiating across the league? Even Lonzo said it's bad across every game. If that is the case, can I interest you one more time in the Robo-Umps? Let's address that when we come back. I am Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo on the 1s and 2s. The Rob Brown Show picks up after this right here on the Fan Upstate. But you were meant for me, so now I've got to leave and make it alone. Oh, I'm good now. I finished it. I knew where I was. And I nailed it, frankly. I want a high school talent show with that dance. 2001. And we nailed it.
How many was?
4 of us.
Okay.
We had a 5th, but he got sick the night of it. So we didn't, we had to do it. We had to do it sans one in sinker.
You have to step it up. Was that your best answer? The guy who couldn't do it?
I mean, I was, we all had our fake names, and I was Robbie Fatone just because we thought it was hilarious that Joey went by Fat One.
Okay.
I saw you through the crack because I was in the
stall and I knew it was you, and I said, I have to go out here. And I walked out. And I went to the sink and I started washing my hands. I looked over and I knew I had to say something to you. The head coach of the Dolphins, your nickname, say. And my first thought in all the meetings, you used to talk about Miss Terry. You used to talk about your wife, and she brought us cookies. She brought cookies to the team. And coach, I looked over.
I'm not going anywhere. I got to edit audio. Be right back.
I think it was, I forget it was Buffalo running back, but I ended up giving up a third down catch to the running back on the option. And this is Wednesday in practice. And I wash my hand, I look over, I say, hey, coach, how's Miss Terry? And you looked at me and said, she'll be a lot better if you cover back on Thursday. Cover back on. That's right. She wanted to win. It always blows my mind. When you saw me, that was 3 days later. That's when you thought about me giving up that 3rd and 7 when I asked you how's Miss Terry. You gotta give up some good on 3rd down.
That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed fit. I'm talking brake pads for when wheels have seen one too many miles of stop.
All right, I think I got it all
Speaking
right.
of Terry, I don't know if you remember this interaction in the bathroom.
I might just go for it.
I was in the bathroom at Dolphin Saturday, and I was playing on my phone. That little bathroom right by the front door by the team meeting room. And you walked in, and I saw you through the crack. Because I was in the stall, and I knew it was you, and I said, I have to go out here. And I walked out. And I went to the sink, and I started washing my hands. I looked over, and I knew I had to say something to you. The head coach of the Dolphins, your nickname, say. And my first thought in all the meetings, you used to talk about Miss Terry. You used to talk about your wife, and she brought us cookies. She brought cookies to the team. Yeah. And coach, I looked over, and this is about 10 games into the season, and I think it was, I forget, it was Buffalo running back, but I ended up giving up a 3rd down catch to the running back on the option route. And this is Wednesday in practice. And I wash my hands, I look over, I say, hey, coach, how's Miss Terry? And you looked at me and said, she'll be a lot better if you can cover back on Thursday. That's right. She wanted to win. It always blows my mind. When you saw me, that'd be 3 days later. That's when you thought about me giving up that 3rd and 7 when I asked you how's Miss Terry. You gotta give up some good on 3rd down.
Expertise anytime.
Can't wait to hear what's next on Wire to Wire with Cole and Diesel.
Tell me what's coming up. I love sports movies, but everybody focuses on the quarterbacks. Who are the best non-quarterback fictional football players of all time? We'll be joined by Isaac Schroeder, national college basketball writer from 247 Sports and CBS Sports. That and more on the next Wire to Wire. Diesel and Cole Bryson really bring it on Wire to Wire.
That's easy.
Leave it on and leave it on.
Bobby Boucher
Bobby Boucher,
was not a quarterback.
not a quarterback. You know, there's some things I say over and over on the air, and I know that. But, you know, it's 2025. It's all about the brand, baby. Everything is the brand. Got to let the people know who you are, what you are, why you are what you are, etc., etc., etc. One of the things that I am, depending on who you ask, is someone who is constantly going out on a limb. And I was going to say with unpopular takes, not hot takes, unpopular takes. I have been for pretty much as long as I can remember Team Robo-Ump. Have been. Team Robo-Ref, Robo-Ump, Robo-Judge, Robo whatever you want. And I have made the case for a very long time that the reason that I am team robo ump, team robo ref, team robo judge, whatever, is because everything in sports is subjective. And there are some things that should not be. Okay? The strike zone is not subjective. It is an objective, measurable thing. And therefore, it should not be something that changes not game to game. It should not be something that changes inning to inning or pitch to pitch or anything else based on a human being behind the dish. It is either a ball or it is a strike. It is either safe or it is out. There is no subjectivity there. There are things that no matter how much I wish that there was an objective way to measure them, there are some things that are just going to inherently be subjective. I could make the argument that holding calls are a subjective measurement. It is hard to define clearly what is a hold and what is not.
Yeah, I wish someone would tell me what that is, because I don't, I know what I think holding is.
Sure.
But apparently that's not what holding is.
That is the definition of subjectivity.
So when they show a camera angle of a quarterback in the backfield and the tackle is like hand completely stretched out with a handful of jersey on a defender, sometimes that's not a hold, apparently.
Yeah. And then there's referees that, I've heard forever, well, it's out of the play. It doesn't impact the play. I'm like, who are you to decide that, right? We've seen defensive ends chase down running backs from the backside pursuit angle. If that backside defensive end is getting held at the line of scrimmage when the running back turns the corner, he may not be able to get on his pursuit angle and chase him down. Who are you to determine whether or not a hold impacts the play or not, right? But I don't know what to do about that. What I argue is that we should be using technology for our betterment when it comes to the objective calls of the game. And I think once again, we have another example of why it is that could be the case. There has been one lingering controversy above all the rest about the AFC Championship game. And that lingering controversy is, did Josh Allen get a first down or not? If Josh Allen gets that fourth down, maybe we have a different ball game on our hands. No, we definitely have a different ball game on our hands. Doesn't mean they would have done anything. Doesn't mean they would have been able to score. Doesn't mean they would have been able to hold a lead. Doesn't mean that the Bills still wouldn't have lost. But as I've said forever and always, regardless of the conditions, if a team does something to win, even if they play 98% of the game like crap, if they play 2% of the game really well, and that 2% of the game is good enough to get them a win, then they deserve to win, not to say, oh, well, yeah, the calls were bad, but like they still didn't play good enough to win. Maybe they did. Maybe they did. Maybe good enough to win doesn't mean they had to go out there and be elite. They just had to be good enough, and maybe they were. Whatever. One of the things that is, by definition, objectively true on a football field is the spot of the ball when a player is down. Okay? That's just an objective reality. When a player is down, when their knee or their elbow or their head or their ass hits the grass, the ball is in a three-dimensional space on the football field that can be dropped straight down to the grass, and that's where that ball is supposed to be down. Why, when we live in a world where I can go outside, and some of you may hate this, whatever. I have come to the reality, the realization that as much as I hate it, as much as I don't want it to be the case, you can't live in 2025 without being impacted by technology and having your information out there somewhere. It sucks. It sucks, but it is impossible to do it unless you are going to go live up on top of a mountain, Grizzly Adams style, grow and hunt your own food. You cannot be off the grid in 2025. And therefore, within a reasonable extent, I think, I've embraced it. If I am going to be on the grid as much as I maybe don't want to be, if I'm going to be on the grid, I might as well use the grid for the grid's benefits when I can. I can go outside and I can take this phone and I can open up my little maps app and I can turn on my GPS, and the satellites that are flying around the world at hundreds of thousands of miles an hour are able to tell my phone within a foot or so where I am on planet Earth, irrelevant of where I am on planet Earth. They can do that. Why are we not? I'm not asking you to even replace refs for pass interference calls or roughing the passer calls or holding calls or any of that. Why is it when there are lesser leagues like the UFL that is working on this, trying it out and finding success? Why in a multi-billion-dollar league have we not come up with a way to implement tech to, if nothing else, spot the football, right? And I can go one step further, not even necessarily about the Josh Allen play, although that obviously is the most high-profile play this weekend. Wouldn't it be good when the Eagles run the tush push, right? I've talked about this 100 times. The success of the tush push is because Jalen Hurts tucks his little body up under the butt of the center, and then he gets hit in the back by two running backs, one high, one low, and he disappears into a scrum full of people. And he's gone. He's gone. Look at every camera angle of a tush push. Jalen Hurts gets the snap, tucks forward, and then he disappears into a pile. And effectively, the referees just kind of have to guess where the ball was when he was ultimately ruled down. By forward contact, by touching the ground, whatever. They just kind of got to guess. And my question remains, if we had a little RFI chip in the nose of the football and in the tail of the football, a little chip implemented into the big skin on both the front and the back that was synced up to 6K cameras, of which, by the way, we already know per the NFL, there are 6K cameras pointed at the line of scrimmage every time an NFL football is snapped. If we can put a little RFI chip in the front end and the back end of the football and then sync those chips up to high-speed, slow-mo cameras to the point that we can, more often than not, push a button the instant we know, because we can see it, that a player is down, or the instant that a whistle blows, right? Because there's forward progress. That's subjective. That's up to the officials. We can exactly signify. We can probably hook it up to the sound of the whistle themselves, so that the second the referee blows a whistle to indicate that forward contact, that forward progress has been halted and the player is down, or when we hook it up to that camera, a guy in front of an 800-inch television in New York City can push a red button that says his knee is down now. And that RFI chip just puts a little diagram onto an Apple Watch or an iWatch on a ref that says, here's the spot where that ball goes. And now we don't have to ask questions anymore. How is it when this is already being implemented in lower level leagues, when we know we have, if nothing else, the technology? I pointed out to Lonzo last week. He didn't believe me. We have cameras that film at 1 million frames per second. You can slow a video down so much that you can watch a bullet leave a gun and see its rotation as it does. We have slowed it down so much that we can film that same bullet hitting an apple, and you can watch it enter, dissect, and leave the apple in a way that it's unbelievable. It looks like CGI, right? And we have these cameras, and these cameras are available. We have RFI chips that can tell you precisely where a thing is. How many of y'all are using Apple iTags right now? Sincerely. I know a lot of y'all are. Apple iTags are great. We use them in our crib.
I don't know what that is.
It is a little piece of plastic about yay big around, all right, a little bigger than a quarter, all right? It's flat, It's about that big around, and you can attach it. It's like sticky. You can attach it to something. And basically, it's a baby GPS chip that hooks up to your phone. So if you stick it on something and you can't find that thing, you ping it, and some of them can play noises, right? I know a guy.
So this is a find your remote button?
Effectively,
Okay.
but it's a little piece of plastic, and you say a lot of people stick them on their cars now, right? So if your car gets jacked, you can go see it. You can tell the cops it's here. This is where it is. This is where that tag is. I got a friend back home that put an Apple tag on his keys, loses his keys all the time. Put on his keys. And when he can't find his keys, he opens up his phone and he goes, "Where's my keys?" And the phone goes, not just they're in this house, but down to like a few inches of wherever they are in the
You
house.
know what's a real shame is they don't make them small enough to put on your pin.
That's the thing. They do. It's just a baby little chip. It's a tiny little microchip that runs all this, which means put one in the front of the football, put one in the back of the football, and whenever the whistle blows or the dude in New York pushes the red button that says this is where the play ended, those two RFID chips can send a signal to a computer that says, I was located exactly here, and the other chip says I was located exactly here, and we can see exactly on the football field where that football was when the play was ended, and now we don't have anymore. Josh Allen got a first down. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. Well, I saw this angle. I saw this angle. I saw this slow motion. I saw this. I saw that. I saw this. We don't have these fights anymore. It's no longer splitting the NFL fan base in half. We can go, no, the ball was here. Here's the data. Here's the computer chip that says so. Let's go. It's not hard. It's already being used. What are we doing? Oh, I got to get my clip. What are we doing? Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. The NFL wanted to go to a system of lasers, freaking lasers, to replace the chains in the late 70s or 80s. One reason because the injuries occur from when they literally would have the chains planted into the ground via spikes. Well, they got rid of the actual jamming into the ground at the time this laser anyone to play. Look at his name at Hightower from Police Academy, Super Bowl champ. By the way, had his NFL career ended because of the chains. Only reason to ... I'll tell you what, give me 30 seconds. I got to knock out a quick text and I'll come back and I will respond to all those things. Stay right there. The Hot Rod Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob, the great one, Lonzo, and you be a part of the radio program this and every day. Jump aboard 844-326-3663. 844 FANFONE.
Trying to figure out what rod sounds to get and who would be the best rod that's closer to Rod Brown.
I mean, the list of rods. We got? Obviously, you got the easy ones. You got Rod Stewart. You got who else? Rod Manuel.
I'm gonna go with this one. Adam.
You got Roderick Strong. That's a good one. What other rods?
Roddy Piper.
Hot Rod. That's the one right there. That's the one. We just pull a bunch of rowdy.
Yeah,
Roddy
I knew
Piper
that would
clips.
be the one that you want to
Easy.
be, but I don't know. I don't know if you match his temperament.
Of course I do. Of course I do. I'm obviously and definitely and not pretending to be Irish. So
I don't know if it's obvious.
Scottish, whatever. I'm in. Corn Chip texted show. He said that when your boy loses his phone, he's screwed. My wife does the same thing and then has to resort to me calling her so she can find her phone to then find her keys with her phone with her AirTag. Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, if you're scatterbrained, you're scatterbrained. That's just kind of how it goes.
You don't need an AirTag for your car. My phone right now will tell me my car is in the parking lot. I'm sure yours will do the same thing.
It will. Obviously, that's a relatively new advancement in not getting your car permanently stolen technology. But
in my case, who's going to steal a smart car?
The AirTags are nice for everything else, though. I mean, think about it. You go on, we go on remote. We get tasked with hanging on to thousands. Okay, when other people go on remotes, they get tasked with hanging on to thousands of dollars worth of equipment. Wouldn't it be nice if you set up somewhere and you came back and your Comrex had walked off, that you got a little tag stuck to the bottom of it to tell you exactly where the hell it is?
I just don't believe that the what you want to happen will happen anytime soon.
No, I agree with you. That's not what I was saying. What I was saying is, why the hell not? Why not? Why is this not something when the NFL, okay, let me put it this way. The NFL right now is basically at a spot where a large percentage of its fans, I'm not going to say a majority because I don't think it is a majority, but a large enough percentage that major media members who have historically been very hesitant to criticize the National Football League are loudly doing just that. I'm not saying that this is the end-all be-all, but go right now on any given social media post of the NFL's and count how many times you read the word rigged. If the primary objective of the Shield, and I think it is, if the primary objective of the Shield is to protect the Shield, right? This is why for years, when players and coaches have outwardly criticized officials, they get hit with tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines. Because even if they have a point, what the NFL has never wanted to allow to happen is for the image of the competitiveness of the game to be questioned, the integrity of the game to be questioned. And as far as I can tell, in my short 18 years worth of broadcasting, whether it is founded or not, the NFL's integrity has never been questioned like it is right now. Again, even if every call in the entire season has been correct, which we all know it hasn't. And I'm not talking about one team. I'm not talking about that team. I'm talking about in general. When we know not every call has been anywhere close to correct, and we all agree with that, I don't think there's anybody right now anywhere, at least not that I've heard or talked to or run across, that says, no, NFL officiating is great. Maybe Mike Pereira thinks everything's special, super awesome, great. But nobody who watches and partakes in the product right now thinks that officiating is anywhere close to great. So when you have, for the first time, in my opinion, the NFL's integrity being questioned so much that even big name talking heads who are on television networks that have billion-dollar contracts with the NFL feel like they are not just justified in, but mandated to address it. And not just address it, although some are, not just address it, but address it from actually a critical perspective, right? In years gone by, I have been comfortable in saying—
So you want Stephen A. and Mad Dog and all those guys to run the league?
No. What I'm saying is—
well, if their voice is so important, then basically they're running the league, and that's what you want. I don't want that.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, when ESPN, who has a contract with the NFL for $1 billion or whatever it is, and historically, in my opinion, has basically carried the water of the league. Everything's great. Everything's awesome. Nothing's wrong. Everything's perfect, even when things clearly aren't. Everything's amazing because they were protecting their $1 billion investment with the NFL. When they are turning their guys loose to go out there and criticize the product because they know right now, I'll tell you, here's what I think it comes down to. The NFL knows right now, if they were to issue a memorandum to ESPN and say, hey, y'all better shut Mad Dog up, y'all better take Stephen A. off the air, what's the response from fans going to be? They're trying to silence the criticism. That just means we're right. When they start to try to silence the messenger instead of address the message, you know you're on to something. And so the fact that these guys feel so justified in saying the things that they're saying tells me that the public perception of the league, even if it's wrong, is at an all-time low. And I will acknowledge, even as somebody who enjoys sports gambling, who makes a solid chunk of his money by talking about it, by doing it, by embracing it, yada, 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 I'm biased. Accuse me of it. You're right. At a point in time where, I don't know if you saw this, though, there was a spot that I found abso-freaking-lutely hilarious during the Chiefs-Bills game. There was a call that was being discussed, and I do not remember which one, and I wish I did. There was a call that was being discussed by Romo and what's his face? How am I just forgetting? Jim Nantz. There was a call being discussed, and they showed a field level view, and up on the big oval jumbotron at Arrowhead was a big ass BetMGM advertisement. That's a company I technically work for. BetMGM, title sponsor of BetQL. BetQL pays me. My money comes from BetMGM. Hilarious that in the moment of a controversial call on the field, there is a BetMGM ad up over the top. The integrity of the league is being questioned. I do not believe the league is rigged. I don't believe that it is capable, that the league is capable of being rigged. But when you are having your integrity called to the carpet the way the NFL is, and part of the reason why is the addition of gambling books as major primary title sponsors, and all this is happening, it can and should be addressed. And the point that I'm making is this tech that we are talking about is not new. I would be willing to say certainly the majority, maybe even most of us, use it on a regular basis. Maybe not daily, but on a regular basis. And even if you don't use it, all of the goods and or services and or products in your life, the companies that manufacture and provide those goods and services and products, they do use it. Truck drivers driving down the road 100% utilize GPS to see if there's a traffic stack up ahead of them. that they can avoid, or to make sure that Smokey's not out trying to knock down their BWERUN or whatever. These things are everywhere all the time. It's part of your life every day. And so when this tech that can pinpoint the location of your car from outer bleeping space down to a foot has a scaled down technology that can pinpoint the precise location of anything you want down to within inches of your home. Do we not think that if you scaled it down a little bit more to put a couple of chips into the football, that everyone at home at any given moment, you ever watch the a lot of the football shows now? The Manning Cast, they do this, right? The Manning Cast, because for the record, the teams put these players, put these chips in the players' gear, right? You've seen how a lot of the football and soccer players and whatever they're wearing, like they look like sports bras now. You know what those are? Those are these chips. They put one in the front and the back of the player on that little sports bra looking piece of clothing that they run around with under their jersey, and it tracks everything. It tracks their speed at any given moment. It tracks the amount of distance that they have covered in a game.
I'm guessing they don't call it a sports bra.
I'm sure they don't. I'm sure there's a name for it, but that's what it is. That's what it is. It tracks every day. It tracks
It's a bandolier.
Whatever you want to call it. It tracks their foot speed at any given moment. It tracks the number of feet and inches they have run. It tracks their heart rate. It tracks their pulse. It tracks everything. We've been using this tech for the players for years now. For years now. I'm not trying to like bring up an old thing, but during the COVID season, and we've heard stories, I think it was AJ McCarron told the story not too long ago. During COVID, when the NFL was trying to make sure the season happened, they were putting wristbands on players anytime that they would enter the facility. And these wristbands would track their proximity to every other wristband in the facility so that if somebody got popped with a positive COVID test, they could go check that wristband and they could see every single person, not on the team, in the entire damn facility that person had close contact with, so they could go run an immediate COVID test on them. And if one of those pop positive, they could test everybody else, right? This tech is not new. It is literally minimum half a decade old. And yet, here we are in a spot where on the biggest play of the biggest game of the year to date, we are having a conversation about whether a player got a first down. We could know this definitively. We could know this. The texture just said NASCAR has chips in cars. Yes, they do. That tell you every bit of information about that car. And that chip can be combined with a high-speed camera pointed at the start-finish line that is capable of so much detail that it can track 4 cars crossing a plane at 185 miles per hour to determine which car won by a millimeter. But we can't just stick that in a football so we can know where the hell the ball is. The single most frustrating thing in football is where the ball is spotted. Because it is, we are told constantly about how the game is so fast and refs can't do this and they can't do that. I am giving you a way without taking a single bit of power away from the referee. This does not take any power away over their influence of the game. Put a chip in the front of the ball, put a chip in the back of the ball, monitor it with a super scanner from the roof. Put 4K million frame a second and you can reset the film on them every single time the ball is snapped. Delete the old film.
All these things you want to happen. What they do is they point out that the referees can't do their job, and in turn the NFL doesn't know what it's doing. So by doing these things, they're stating that you're right, that the NFL doesn't know what it's doing, and they hired bad referees and they don't know what they're doing. They're not going to do that. They're not, and I still stick to it. I can't guarantee you, but it wouldn't shock me if the in-booth analysts disappear, because all this year, all they've done is disagree with the calls on the field, which makes the guys out there making the calls on the field look bad. You get rid of the in-booth analysts or wherever those analysts may be. That eliminates a little of that.
Well, let's start with this.
It's a bad look for the NFL. It's a bad look for the league. I know you say, and I agree to a degree, it's a bad look because they're getting the calls wrong, but they're not going to admit, hey, we're not good at this. They're not going to do that.
Well, let's start with this. And I know we got to run to a break, so I'll address it very clearly. Let's start with this. What you just suggested is getting rid of color commenters. Or
the guys in the booth. Let's go to our rules expert. Yes.
Here's the second thing, and this is what I kind of hinted at this a minute ago. The second part is, because this has been going on for so long and it's such a major conversation at this point, if next year they go, by the way, we don't have a rules analyst in the booth anymore, what happens? The same public perception right now that the NFL it has a problem. Let's just say it has a problem. Let's not use the words rigged or anything. Has a problem. Those same people are going to come out and go, well, if everything's on the up and up, why'd you get rid of the guys that explain the rules? That makes it look, the problem is the NFL is so dug deep in with this problem now that anything that they do that addresses the addressing of the problem but doesn't address the problem makes them look guiltier, makes it look worse.
What if they take the guys out of the booth and say they're using it for research in the technology to the things that you want to happen, but the research never gets done?
You'd have
if they
to
take those guys out of the booth because they're going to use that money that they pay those guys to put towards the technology.
Remember, those guys are TV provided. Those aren't provided by the NFL. Those guys are, they're former NFL officials or whatever, but the TV guys pay for those guys to come in and be the rules experts in that spot.
Same situation. They pay for those games, and if someone they're paying for makes the product look bad, therefore people stop watching, then you get rid of the people that are making the product look bad.
That would be up to, again, those guys being gotten rid of or not gotten rid of, that is 100% up to the television network. But if the NFL ever stepped in and said, we want you, in order to get your contract renewed, to get rid of rules officials, again, the same people who are already crying foul are going to be screaming it from the rafters, and now the integrity leagues will worse than it is today. We'll talk more about this coming up later in the show. The point is, use the tech, NFL. Be better. Sports Flash.
Never going to happen. The South Carolina women's basketball team knocked off number 18 Tennessee last night, 70-63. Chloe Kitts, Raven Johnson, and Tiana Pow all had 10 points in starting roles, while the Gamecocks were led by Joyce Edwards, 18 off the bench. The Gamecocks are now 20-1, but remain number 2 on the polls behind the undefeated UCLA, who handed the Gamecocks their only loss. Former Colorado Buffaloes quarterback and potential number 1 overall pick Shedeur Sanders announced yesterday he's unsure if he'll throw at the NFL Combine next month. Sanders met with Tennessee, Cleveland, and the New York Giants at the East-West Shrine game yesterday, and said after he'd be thankful for any team that drafts him and that he expects to change any franchise that does. Tune in tomorrow at 5:30 as Furman Paladins take on the Samford Bulldogs. It's Furman versus Samford right here on your home for Furman Paladins basketball. The Fan, Upstate. You need to push the slam dunk contest.
Do what?
You need to push the slam dunk contest.
Yes.
Thank you, Stephen. Always appreciate your words of encouragement. Nobody else around here gives me those.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6812. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an 8.
Good morning, James.
Good morning, James. I regret doing that. I'm sorry, James.
Don't say anything about wrestling, James, because you'll ruin like most of my what the X were later. So don't say anything about wrestling.
Yeah, I haven't. I also haven't watched last night. I've only seen a couple of social media clips.
That could also be poor writing, Stephen. I'm just saying. You just don't know.
Son of a biscuit.
Wow, what a week I'm having here.
2-0, and it's Tuesday.
You sure it's only 2?
Yes. I had one yesterday, one today. That is not the start to the week that we wanted.
So my week just keeps getting better.
I had a clip I needed to play for your approval for the audio blitz on. So are we allowed to say that, play that word on the air? Specifically, if I told you it's one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
You know, everyone can see that on the screen.
That's okay. I can say it on the stream.
It's
I don't know if I can can we get away with that? I don't feel like it's that bad.
Really?
Yeah.
You really
like what it is obviously is, but
Yeah,
I don't feel like the word is that bad.
I know. Is that a single word or is it 2 words? But I mean, because I think it's 2 words. I don't think it's 1 word.
I feel like regardless of whether it's 1 word or 2 words, I feel like it's one of those things like the thing that it describes, obviously we can't talk about. The word itself I don't feel is that bad.
I will say I don't like it and I'll dump it if you play it. There we go. But you can still play it. The stream can hear it.
Well, no, I mean,
and they can judge me however.
Maybe I'll do a special audio blitz for the stream, but I'm not gonna play something on the air you're gonna dump.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have before.
Safe to say, Jerry Jones doesn't know what words mean.
I bet he does.
Okay.
Why did you not bleep that out? Because you think that word is or 2 words is so funny that you okay.
For the record, 100%. If you weren't here, I would have played it. And I'd have taken the shot. 100% I'd have played it.
That's me. And you can tell by listening, I'm just a major prude.
Jerry Jones, in his press conference yesterday.
Would never do anything because I'm prudish. Just want to point that out.
Listen, what if I'd have just played it? Right?
I still would have dumped it.
Right. So
I appreciate
forgiveness, not permission.
Well, if you question it, then it's probably not airable. I mean, that's the whole point of the thing.
Well, no, because
take the training.
I asked you I asked you last week if I was allowed to play a clip about a French soccer team named Brest. And that was, it's not the edgiest thing in the world.
Well, breasts are acceptable. So I mean, but if you go
is acceptable. It's one entity. It's just one soccer team.
Well, yeah, and I was talking about I don't think when you say breasts, it's like one unless you
Name of a soccer
signify.
team.
If someone says breasts, they don't say breast unless they're having a problem with one single breast. No, that is not a problem.
Jerry Jones.
That other thing is something totally different, and you know that.
Well, I agree. But again, it's just the name of the thing, not a description of the thing. Here, let me tell you guys what's going on without. I'm going to work my way around this.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm going to work my way around this.
Because according to our training, which I just took
I feel good
recently,
about this.
again, that's even innuendo is not.
Oh, there's no innuendo here.
Okay.
There's
all
no
right.
innuendo. Jerry Jones is so disconnected with reality. Jerry Jones said yesterday. There's a term. This, by the way, this word. You know what?
How many times have we said happy endings? Okay, that's
exactly. That's the same thing to me.
No, it's not.
It's the same thing.
It
to
is
me.
not.
Let me tell you guys.
It is not.
In the oil business.
One's a finish and one's a beginning, probably. I guess.
I mean, this word technically is both. Technically both.
Okay.
In the oil business, there is a term for when someone drills into the ground and finds oil. All right. They drill a hole in the ground and they find oil. And when they find oil, they consider it a glorious victory. All right. There is glory to be found.
I don't think they do that. I think you're just trying to use that as I don't. Think
No, I'm not. That's where.
I
Listen,
don't think
hang
it's
on.
actually an oil term.
I'm about to. Let me get through it. That is, and this is why Jerry Jones said what he said yesterday. If you haven't seen it, it's worth popping onto your social media or YouTube to go find this because it's absolutely hilarious. In the oil drilling business, they call a spot where you drill a hole into the ground and you find oil. They say there's glory to be found in that hole. And that's where that term comes from. However, that word has been commandeered for when someone at a particular type of establishment.
James mentioned on the stream something that I've always when I go back to the Clampetts, I go back to Beverly Hillbillies, and that's Black Gold and Texas Tea. It's not that other thing that you're talking about.
Well, as we know, common vernacular is only influenced by the Clampetts.
You enjoy vittles. You don't like ciphering. I mean, there's a lot of things there.
All I can tell you is that I researched this.
Occasionally visit the cement pond. You had one.
Cement pond.
Yeah, you had one.
A pool?
Yeah, when you grew up.
Yeah, I've never called it that.
Yeah. We know.
All right, so I'm gonna get.
Your resemblance to Jethro is uncanny.
I'm
just
gonna get
saying,
through
you
this.
Still take your beard off.
If I have to push the audio blitz back 2 hours, okay.
You never mentioned you were doing audio blitz.
Well, this was going to be in the audio blitz. That's why I asked you if I was going to be good or not.
Fine.
Jerry Jones yesterday was being grilled by the Dallas media, as he should be, because he is bad at his job. And his being bad at his job, unfortunately, has a detrimental impact on Dallas Cowboy fans everywhere. Well, Jerry yesterday in this press conference said the word for the hole in the ground in which an oil collector finds glory and oil. And in doing so,
I protest. That just so it's on.
That's fine.
The
Again,
recording. I protest because you didn't really get around it. You said both words, just in different order.
I didn't say the word.
It's anyway.
Anyway, Jerry at his press conference was pointing out publicly in front of people and microphones that when he took over this team, there wasn't much glory to be found around the star. And that, he wanted to be around when the glory was found. Except for he didn't just use the word glory, which I've now said so many times that it seems like a very weird word to me. Glory. It's just a weird word.
I thought you were going to go Gloria.
No.
Yeah, because
not.
You probably don't know that song.
I do know it.
Okay, all right.
But that's not in the
The
Rob
way
Brown
you spelled
vernacular.
it with the cadence, that it sounded like you were going there.
Jerry said that he hopes to be around long enough to find glory. But then he stuck another word on the end of glory, and it made it real awkward to hear an 80-plus-year-old man say that he was looking for that particular type of enjoyment.
Okay, if I don't understand why those two words would be there, and while he was looking for glory.
Do you know what that thing is?
Yes.
Okay.
If I didn't know what that thing is, how would I not say I don't want you to say that thing?
How is it not funny to you that Jerry Jones said yesterday he wants to find that?
First of all, you're acting like he's incapable of using such a thing when we have seen many times older men with much younger women. And anyway, and having children by said younger women, not through a surrogate or other, but because they're virile and there are things that you can buy if you're not. So
listen,
what you're implying, it may be an unfortunate choice of putting words together, which you and I never do ever on this show, ever accidentally. You're making me defend Jerry Jones. I get that a bunch of people don't like the guy. I mean, I get that.
This may just simply be a place where your sense of humor and mine diverge from each other, which is rare, but does happen.
They're really not that much different than you try to make it out to be.
It's rare, but it does happen. But JJ, when talking about his Cowboys after 30 years of failure as the owner general manager, saying that he wants to go find glory, but then followed it up with another word behind that, is the funniest thing that's ever. Deck and I were texting back and forth for 15 minutes last night about how hilarious this was. It's I'm probably going to play. I don't know if yes.
And that's exactly what they sounded like.
Yes.
Wow. I'm not surprised.
Yes, it was.
Did you snort?
It was.
Tell me you went.
It was 100% because I also sent it to P1 Joey B, our buddy Andrew, my buddy Jonathan. I probably sent that clip.
All people with the same sense of humor.
Correct.
And all snorting, probably.
Correct.
And when I say snorting, I just mean snorting laughter. Some of them might even have guffawed. It's possible.
I had to have sent this clip. I showed this clip to my wife. That's how funny it was. We were laying in bed at like 10:15 at night, and this clip popped up on my Instagram reels, and I played it, and then I pushed the screen to pause it, and my brain spun a second. Did I just hear JJ say glory and then another word after that? And I went, there's no way. So then I played it again, and I thought, yeah, I did. And the wife went, what did he just say? And I went, who? And she said, Jerry Jones on your phone.
Watching listeners just drop off the stream because they cannot believe that you really want to say that.
She said, what did Jerry Jones just say? And I played it for her. And she went, is he okay? And I went, I don't think so. I don't think he is. Now, apparently, because when I sent this to Deck and I'm like, dude, are you running with this on your show tomorrow? He said, oh, you don't know the OG clip. Apparently, this is not the first time that Jerry Jones has referenced that type of hole on his on a press conference before. Apparently, it's been happening a couple of times. He found me a clip from like 14 years ago when JJ said, I'm looking for glory.
So maybe you are right. And it does have to do with oil, and he is in Texas and has been there a long time. Maybe that's what it is.
Oh, it is. And it does. I'm telling you, I'm not saying that as
is
like a
is
guess.
there a chance that possibly he has no idea that that's a thing?
If that is the case, and again, I'm not saying that Jerry is surrounded by a bunch of yes men. I'm not saying that Jerry's definitely surrounded himself with a bunch of yes men who allow him to get away with whatever he wants, and that's why everything he wants is what happens, and the team stinks and has stank and will continue to stunk moving forward. What I'm saying is, if JJ has been running around in pressers for at least 1 dozen years, saying that he is looking for glory, and he's looking for glory in that particular type of fashion and manner, even if it is an old Texas oil baron term. And that's how JJ got all his money, was finding glory in the ground. Drill a hole, find some glory. Even if that's what he's been saying and how he's been meaning it this whole time. The fact that ain't one person said, hey, Jerry, I know that word means this over here in your world, but for like 99% of real America, that's not what that word means. It means something real different, Jura. The fact that nobody has said, Jerry, stop saying that word, to make him stop saying that word is proof that he is just surrounded by yes men and this team's never going anywhere.
I think it's 2 words. I am just, have you met your quota yet from Secret Society? Because there's a lot of Dallas talk. I mean, and I guess they give quotas when they send out, hey, you got to talk about Dallas now.
If you and I do not find the same level of comedy in Jerry Jones telling me that he is looking for that, then we're just on different pages for this segment.
I refuse to participate in anything that would lend credence to your belief that that's what he means. I'm just not participating in this segment.
Again, ignored as you wish. I fully believe that Jerry Jones, as a dude who made his money in oil speculation and real estate, is 100% using the old style of the term, an old oil drilling term. That means we dug a hole and we found oil, aka glory, down in it. I am sure in his mind, that's the perfect usage of that word or those combination of words in that moment. But to everyone else in America, that is hilarious, objectively.
Okay, Chiefs haters, I blame you for this stuff, for us being subjected to this. Because if you wouldn't have hated the Chiefs so much, we wouldn't have to endure all this Jerry talk.
I don't understand how it is that this isn't hilarious. I don't, and it's okay that you don't. There's no world in which I hear Jerry Jones use that word in that context and not laugh my ass off. That's hilarious. That is beyond hilarious to me. Maybe I'm 10, but that's hysterical.
Well, I was thinking, 12. It's kind of a tweenie thing. When you're almost a teenager and you're trying to act like what you consider as, yeah. I mean,
Fair enough.
Just laugh at anything.
Whatever. If you don't find Jerry Jones' old ass talking about looking for glory and then using that word to just stand in for the word glory, we just have a different sense of humor here. Well, that's objectively hilarious.
I think people complain about Jerry Jones so much, but he gets what he wants. All you guys do is talk about him. I mean, okay, maybe stop talking about him and then he'll be irrelevant.
No, he's irrelevant once Dallas fans stop going to games and running into that stadium like they're trying to win an Olympic gold medal to watch a crappy team play.
That's their choice.
Agree. But if they keep doing that, me talking about him has no impact. And again, if the Cowboys disappeared tomorrow and Jerry Jones was trying to build from the ground up and he said, I'm looking for glory and I'm going to laugh at that every time. I'm a child. I don't know what you're going to tell you. I find it hilarious. Audio Blitz when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
I hope you're happy with yourself.
I am elated with myself.
Stream, you are not ignored. You guys were on fire.
That's a whole lot.
Way to use that word correctly there too. I mean, I still think it's 2 words. I really do. I don't think it's a single word.
You know what? I'm willing to Urban Dictionary this and take one for the team.
Just go to the proper dictionary first.
I don't think
and see if it's there's a lot of stuff in there that probably you wouldn't think is in there. Go to Webster's or go to whatever your dictionary of choice is. Do you have a dictionary of choice?
Whatever one comes up first when I Googled dictionary.
All right. There's a dictionary.com also. That's so bad. All right, enough was said on the air about the thing that if I look it up and stuff comes up that should not come up, I'm good. It is 2 words, by the way.
When you utilize it in the context of the thing that we are talking about.
Yeah, but you don't know. You don't know what his context was.
All right.
I mean,
no, again, I know what his context. His context was the term for the oil baron term,
because,
without a doubt.
From dictionary.com says it's a nautical term.
Maybe so. I'm sure
The
it's
quarters
probably,
on a ship that are occupied by the stewards or the stokers.
There you go. We're learning new things today.
Because a stoker is the guy who puts the coal or something in there. I don't know.
All of you, and I can say it on the stream. The term is glory hole. That's the term, is a glory hole. And in common pop vernacular, that's a really funny tweet, Wesley. Bravo.
But I looked it up on dictionary. I went to dictionary.com first and then looked it up. So I don't think it'll affect the algorithm. By the way, it's also a glass making term.
Again, I'm sure
an
it comes from a lot
auxiliary
of
furnace
places.
for reheating glass that is cooled during offhand blowing. So, I mean, there's that.
But as Jerry
what is offhand
is-
blowing, Rob? I don't know what that.
I went to college.
Wow.
As Jerry is,
It's also a mining term.
I'm sure it's termed from a lot of
But
places.
I don't see anything about oil, is what
But
I'm
as
saying.
Jerry is an oil guy, I'm going to imagine that's the context he used it in. But here's the thing. In the however many times that you have heard the term glory hole, how many of those times have been in any context other than the funny one?
I can tell you, I've never heard it as many times as I have today.
Sure. But I'd also be willing to take the stab that every time until today you've heard it, it has been in that context, not navigation or seamanship or glass blowing or whatever. Yeah, I know. I said what I said.
What did you? World's wrong with you, man? Hey, Rob, listen to what this promo is talking about.
Yeah, I got it pulled up.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. I do have it pulled. It's been pulled up the whole time.
We're about 2.5 hours in. He's going to ask for an air check. I know it.
Okay.
I know he will.
Well, let's do it then. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Welcome in, Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, the occasional Jerry Jones, and you here on the show. 844-326-3663 is the number. 844-FANFONE. Hey, you know, we tell you all the time that you should grab the Odyssey app. We tell you should grab it so that you can listen to the Rob Brown Show and all the fine programming here on the Fan Upstate 24/7, 365, no matter where you are. We tell you that you should grab the Odyssey app so that you can utilize the Ray Memorial Hotline by opening the Odyssey app, searching the Fan Upstate, clicking on that Listen Live button, and then clicking on that Leave a Voice Message button. And you can, do that. Leave a voice message on the Ray Memorial Hotline that we can listen to and we can play at any given point for you because we are kind, generous beings and want your voice on the show. But now we have an even better reason for you to grab the Odyssey app. Now we have an even better reason for you to download it, to open it, and to listen to the Fan Upstate live. That reason is our Slam Dunk in Vegas sweepstakes. Here's how it works. You download the free Odyssey app, you log in, and if you listen to the Fan Upstate for at least 1 hour, your name will be entered into a grand prize drawing where one lucky winner will score round-trip airfare and accommodations for 4 in Las Vegas, plus $5,000 per person. That is a prize pack worth $5,000 to enjoy the ultimate experience for the first 2 rounds of the college basketball championships. It is a national contest. You enter again by downloading the free Odyssey app, logging in, and listening to the Fan Upstate for at least 1 hour per day. Every day you enter, or every day you listen for an hour, you are entered into the grand prize giveaway, the Slam Dunk in Vegas with the Fan Upstate. It is underway right now. So grab the Fan Upstate, grab the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, log in, listen to the station for an hour, and get your name entered for the chance to win this incredible prize. You're being flown to Vegas. You're getting to go to some college basketball games in the college basketball championships. You're being put up in a hotel, and you're getting $5,000 a person to go bananas in Vegas. And also maybe, throw a little cheddar in while you're out there. Sports gambling's legal. Not saying, just saying. Grab the Odyssey app, 1 hour a day. Every time you do, you are entered in to this incredible giveaway. Grab the Odyssey app, go to the Fan Upstate page, and listen for an hour to be entered. All right. Let's get some sound in here as the show rolls on. Let's start with, where do we want to go here? I got a couple things. I got a couple in there. You know what? No, I'm going to save the Nick Saban thing. Let's go with the Kelsey Bros. The Kelseys do a podcast together. It's called the New Heights Podcast. We've talked about it on the show many times. We've played some audio many times. Jason went back and found an old clip because before the season started, a listener wrote in and asked Jason a question. Travis Kelce read him that question, and this happened.
R.L. Baber, no dumb questions. If the Chiefs play the Eagles in the Super Bowl next year, will Jason root for Travis?
That's not the question. It says, who will Jason root for? I will root for the Eagles, of course, because I will always be an Eagle.
Such bull.
First and foremost.
First and foremost?
Yeah.
All right.
I'll also root for Travis to have a good game, of course, because he's my brother. But no, I'll definitely be cheering on the Eagles.
Well, there you go, Baber. Got what you asked for. Good luck to your Eagles.
That's the end of that question.
Jason got asked if your Eagles, the team you played for, and the Chiefs, the team your brother actively plays for, were to go to the Super Bowl and play each other, which is what happened. Would you be rooting for your old team to win a Super Bowl, or would you be rooting for your brother to win a Super Bowl? I don't know if the answer to that question is maybe a little different if T-Rav didn't already have a couple of rings, but it wouldn't be because that's what brothers do, right? That's such a great clip, man. I like that pod. I like Jason Kelce's the superior Kelce for sure. But I love that clip because that's just what brothers do.
Why is he the superior? Because he's older?
No, he's just.
Is this an older brother thing? You're doing it because you're an older brother, so you automatically go into the side of the older brother?
No, I'm doing it because the Kelce brothers are the most television and radio exposed people in the history of the National Football League, and I'm just more like Jason than I am Trav.
You let your sibling rivalry go. Okay, all right.
Yeah, if you ever let a sibling rivalry go, you didn't have a sibling rivalry. All right. As somebody who has a younger brother who I love and who you could not separate me from with the American Army, I am telling you, I will also never let the rivalry go. It is like the Southeastern Conference. I can talk crap.
What if it was like the Army of Guam? Could you be separated by?
That's less than the U.S. Army.
That
I
is
started
true.
with the number one army.
You did.
Okay.
All right.
I went with the top army. However, if it's a sibling rivalry, the sibling rivalry never stops. I respect that out of Jason. Like, hey, I hope my bro has a good game, but go my team.
We'll see what
That's good.
what jersey he's wearing at the Super Bowl.
I played earlier the introduction of Brian Schottenheimer. He took to the podium for the first time as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Some of the players were in attendance, Dak Prescott amongst others. And this, first time talking to the players, is how Schotty sounded.
You are the core of this program, and we will focus on you every day. To Dak, JT, JB, Demo, Brock, T-Sizz, Josh Butler, Kalen, Carson, Scooney, you're back there. I don't know if anybody else snuck in that I missed. It means the world to me that you guys are here. And I can't wait to do this alongside you, to get to know you guys at an even deeper level. I want to get to know your hearts. I want to capture your hearts and let you guys get a great feel for me. But thank you for being here.
Who's Scooney?
One of the guys on the team.
Scooney, good to see you back there.
One of the guys on the
Thanks
team.
for coming, bro.
I gotta tell you, and this is a weird spot because I fully acknowledge, recognize, realize, and yet shan't change the fact that my reaction to that is all right. Like, all right. And maybe this is being hypercritical, which I can be sometimes, shockingly. Maybe I'm being hypercritical, but like, that sounds like the start of like a, you know what that sounds like? I'm gonna get judged for this, and that's okay. That sounds like a youth pastor introducing himself to a youth group for the first time. Not a football team. It's a different thing. It's a different world. That's what it sounds like to me.
I'm glad I don't listen with your ears sometimes. This is a guy who has familiarity with the team, talking, hey, again, like I pointed out in the first hour, those guys showed up to his press conference. They didn't have to. Those guys are going to support him. That's why they're there. He has familiarity with the guys. I hope they do well because I like when my boss is happy. I don't care if Cole's happy, but I like when my boss is happy, and he'll be happy if Dallas does good. And the other reason why I would love Dallas to be competitive and win a couple playoff games, not win the Super Bowl, but at least be in the running for it, just so people won't have anything to talk about.
Yeah, I mean,
anymore. It will kill the Dallas narrative. Then they'll have to find something else.
Congratulations.
You don't get tired of narratives that have been there forever. And I realize because Jerry Jones has been there forever. Okay. I tire of that. I want to hear something new.
Let me clear something up here. You think when I talk about this,
I wasn't talking about you specifically. You are a part of it, but I'm talking about sports media overall. What are they going to do? What is your secret society going to do if Dallas actually if Schottenheimer comes forth and wins games? What are they going to do?
I can't speak for sports media at large, as I am only me.
Yeah,
that's good enough for me.
We were doing it earlier as a secret society.
The conversation for me is not about the Dallas Cowboys. It just happens to be that the most popular club in the National Football League is also right now the perfect illustration of dysfunctional, toxic, bad, diseased, cancerous ownership. That's it. It has nothing to do. This is one of those times that Rob Brown likes to utilize one entity as a metaphor for a conversation at large. And if you just tune in or you're listening at a surface level or on background noise or whatever, and that's fine. If you are just using me as background noise or not paying attention, then I can absolutely see how you think, oh, Rob's talking about the Cowboys. I mean, yes, in as much as I am using the Cowboys as an example of what can go wrong when you are owned and led by somebody who cares more about themselves than they do the success of the team and the enjoyment of its fans. My team's going through that right now with Gail Benson. She cares more about being a highfalutin member of society. The difference, however, is that the struggle of my team, we're not a big-time team. We're not a big-time market. Even with the Lombardi, the Saints are a small-time, second-rate poverty franchise. We just are. So nobody cares. Everybody, even if you hate them, knows what is happening with the Dallas Cowboys right now. So therefore, they become the best team to utilize as the illustration of this conversation. All right, I got a little more sound to play for you when we come back here in just a minute. We'll talk about this Josh Allen thing. Got a couple of Nick Saban quotes and more. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's the Fan Upstate. All All right, guys, got to step away for just a minute. Y'all stay right there. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Great to be with you. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you jump on board and be a part of the radio broadcast. 844-326-3663 is the number. 844-FANFONE. If you want to be a part of the show, you can do it. I want to, since we got a little bit of time here, I wanted to address a couple of comments from Nick Saban. He was in on a podcast a few days ago that I have jumped on board. It's called The Pivot. It is hosted by ESPN's Ryan Clark, Fabulous Fast Freddie Taylor, and Channing Crowder, the former Miami Dolphin great. Saban was on this podcast, and there's two clips from it that have kind of started to make the rounds that I absolutely love. The first one is just kind of funny. Channing Crowder was talking about being a member of the Miami Dolphins when Nick Saban was the head coach. And he told a story about an interaction that he had with Nick. And I play this for two reasons. Number one, the interaction is freaking hilarious. And number two, because Nick Saban comes across as just such a likable dude.
Speaking of Terry, I don't know if you remember this interaction in the bathroom. I was in the bathroom at a Dolphin facility, and I was playing on my phone. That little bathroom right by the front door by the team meeting room. Yeah. And you walked in, and I saw you through the crack because I was in the stall, and I knew it was you, and I said, I have to go out here. And I walked out, and I went to the sink, and I started washing my hand. I looked over, and I knew I had to say something to you. You're the head coach of the Dolphins. You're Nick damn Saban. And my first thought in all the meetings, you used to talk about Miss Terry. You talked about your wife, and she brought us cookies. She brought cookies to the team. Yeah. And, Coach, I looked over, and this is about 10 games into the season, and I think it was, I forget, it was Buffalo running back, but I ended up giving up a third down catch to the running back on the option route. And this is Wednesday at practice, and I'm washing my hands. I look over, I say, hey, Coach, how's Miss Terry? And you looked at me and said, she'll be a lot better if you can cover her back on third down.
That's right. She wanted to win.
It always blows my mind. When you saw me, that had to be 3 days later. That's when you thought about me giving up that 3rd and 7 when I asked you, how's Miss Terry?
Yeah. Or you got to get off the field on third down.
Gotta get off the field on third down. I want to address two things. Number one, why in the year 2025 can't we have a bathroom stall that you can't look in and out of the cracks? Is it just me? That's not a problem for anybody else. I do my best not to have to do my worst in public. I have literally left this radio station to drive home to do my business. If I got the warning that if I got enough time that I know before the bomb goes off that I can make it back to the crib, I'm gonna do that. All right. Part of the reason why isn't just because I just don't want to use a public toilet. Part of the reason why isn't just because I don't want to potentially end up subjecting my coworkers to whatever war crime I'm about to commit.
No, you just don't want to be judged the way you judge people, I think. And I don't blame you there.
Also that.
Yeah, I think those cracks need to be there for safety purposes.
I don't.
Because there could be a ne'er-do-well hanging out outside the stall ready to jump you just out of sight where you don't see his feet, but you can see him through the cracks, and then you know to get ready. It's about to throw down. Without those, you don't know someone's standing out there.
This is a very vulnerable moment for me. Okay? If somebody, do you think that if somebody wants to get you, like they're in there to get you. And by the way, we got to live in the most damn paranoid country in the world. Not everybody's out to get you. All right. If somebody is in that bathroom,
by the way,
trying to get me
in other countries, they probably are there to get you.
We're not in other countries.
You're right, but you try to. This is.
I'll
the best
start doing how they
mister.
do it in France when we got France problems, but this is not France. And if somebody's out there to get you, do you think they're going to wait until you have your pants pulled up and are capable of defending yourself? If I want to get you, I'm getting you while you're on the crapper.
Well,
I'm literally catching you with your pants
here's the
down.
point. While your pants are down, you look through the crack and you spot a shiv or something. You're going to be like, okay, I'm pulling my pants up and preparing to take on this ne'er-do-well.
Okay.
Whereas you could be sitting there and not know. Well, here's another scenario. You're saying, and this was just brought up in the clip. You're sitting there and taking your time when you're supposed to be on the clock, and the boss walks in. You see it's the boss. You recognize his shoes, and you're like, "Oh no, I've got to hurry. I'm going to get busted again." I mean, there's just a lot of reasons to have those.
If I'm in there,
and it may also be for fumigation purposes. I don't know.
If I'm in there and I see the boss and I'm going to get in trouble for doing my business, I don't want to work there anymore.
No, it's
Okay?
not for
I
doing
don't
your
wanna work there
business,
anymore.
but for taking that break like every 20 minutes to go in there and just be watching something on YouTube.
That
on your
just
phone.
tells me you got a bad work ethic. Listen, we don't need to sit here and strategize the proper way to attack somebody in the crapper. What I'm saying is, shut the cracks.
You know,
I
the
don't want to
best-
be able to
you know the
see
best
out.
way to defend yourself? Put a banana on the floor.
Oh God. I don't want to be able to see out while I'm doing that, because if I can see out, somebody else can see in. I am much more worried about somebody just like leering than jumping me when I come out of the crapper. But
Will,
blah, blah,
will
blah,
you,
blah, blah,
will
blah,
you,
blah.
will you use a trough?
I mean, if I'm in a stadium and I got to pee,
Well,
yeah.
then you have no, you have no.
You don't
that's
understand the
same.
difference between taking a 1 and taking a 2?
Doesn't
the state
matter.
of vulnerability, it
Doesn't-
absolutely is
doesn't-
different.
You are more vulnerable standing
One-
in a trough than you are in a
No,
toilet
I'm
with
not.
cracks.
What are you
You
talking-
absolutely are.
Okay, all right, let's think about this for a minute. You're just as vulnerable standing there with just your little thing-a-lang out than you are seated with your pants around your ankles. No.
Here, let me
No.
point this out for someone, because you've never been in a fight. So if you're going to fight, you got a better chance if you're in the stall because you're already in the squatting position, so you can get the most power out of your legs.
Your pants are
to
around
burst
your
through
ankles.
that door and
All
take
right,
that narrow.
All right, you're just being silly.
Am
now,
I?
All right?
Am I?
Yes.
No, I don't
Yes.
think so.
Yes.
I think everyone
Yes.
would agree with me.
Now, literally no one. Now, that being said, the whole point of that clip was for no other reason than A, get rid of the cracks in bathroom stalls. They're weird. But even aside from that, I like broadcasting Nick Saban. He's fun. All right. All the things that made him completely unlikable as a coach, unless he was your coach, all the things that made him completely unlikable as a coach make him a fantastic broadcaster. He's just fantastic. And I've not gotten to finish it, but because of that clip, I started my first ever listen to The Pivot, which I got to tell you is probably going to go in the rotation now. I enjoyed it quite a bit. But then later on in The Pivot, Nick Saban was talking about the, let's say, evolution of college football, and I swang right back around.
NFL versus college. One thing the NFL does is they protect the brand. I mean, they have rules, they have regulations. I don't care if your socks have to touch your pants. I don't care what it is. All right. This is business. All right. And they understand business. All right, and if you watch a college game now, as opposed to a pro game, it used to be just the opposite. You used to see great discipline in college and college guys showing sportsmanship and all that. And pro guys, maybe not so much. Now it's this way because they have no guidelines. They don't understand how to protect the brand in college football. And it's disguised a little bit about the playoffs, because everybody's so excited about having a 12-team playoff, which is great. But what's happening to the rest of it? Don't know how to protect the brand. And just like even the SEC, how many guys grew up saying, all you guys play in the SEC, right? Yeah. I want to play in the SEC. Yeah, definitely. I heard that 20 years in recruiting. I want to play in the SEC. Ain't nobody saying I want to play in the SEC now. They're saying how much you paying me. Yeah. So you lose all that. There's some kids that grew up wanting to play at LSU. There's some kids that grew up wanting to play at Florida or Alabama or whatever. It's not how much you going to pay me. All right, so you lose all that sort of legacy and tradition that has made college football what it is.
Okay. Couple of points I want to address. And I once again am going to reiterate before I do. I love Nick Saban, the broadcaster. I think he's loosey-goosey. I think he's fun, but I still think he's got enough of that uptight, excellent, elite coachedness in him that you pair him up with a Pat McAfee, and it's magic, dude. It's magic. If you haven't seen the clip of Game Day where they are in, I think it's Texas A&M. I'm not 100% sure, but you know how on Game Day, they always have like a local eatery bring out a bunch of food out to the desk and the boys just kind of eat it and talk about it? There is a spot where they bring out like a big tomahawk steak and McAfee just picks it up barehanded and he points it over in Saban's face. And you're like, oh no, Pat, he's going to eat you alive. And Nick just looks at him and then leans over and takes a bite out of it. Like, it's great. There's another spot where Nick eats something that is like desserty But it's like like one of those weird regionally specific desserts that it's like these people love it, nobody else gets it. And Nick Saban on the air goes, "What in the is that?" It's hysterical. I don't like the steak. I don't like the steak. I get what Nick is saying. He's saying all the things that we have heard so many other people say. Oh, we lose the tradition. We lose the pageantry. We lose all of this. And the point the entire time has been, yeah, that's an easy thing to hurt when you lose if it is the reason that you are rich and successful. Nick Saban made hundreds of millions of dollars by taking advantage of all that stuff. Oh, I want to play in the SEC. I want to do this. I want to do that. And that's all well and good. And all those things were absolutely true. Okay. Nick made hundreds of millions of dollars to keep those things true. And he did a better job of that than I would argue any other coach in college football history. I include Bobby Bowden, Joe Paterno, and all the rest of them. He also made hundreds of millions of dollars doing it. It is really easy to say it hurts to lose those things when those things enriched you. But the people who made those things true, nobody wants to play in the SEC if all the best players weren't in the SEC. And they were. They just were. So all the best players wanted to play against all the best players. And that made a bunch of sense. But it also created a world where everybody else in this same college football landscape was fighting for their lives. Now, we have created a world where the SEC has to fight just like everybody else. Just like everybody else. I was listening to another podcast yesterday, and I do feel bad that I do not remember who it was. But they said if you go break down by demographic where schools send graduates, the Big Ten is currently sending more big-time professionals to the East and the West Coast, where the money is, to the Northeast and California, where the money is, than any other football conference. And what ends up happening when that happens? You send the most graduates to the places where there's the most money, and they send the most money back to those schools. And when they send the most money back to those schools have the most ability to take that money and to turn it into football resources. And that is why the Big Ten effectively ran college football this year between Oregon and Ohio State and Penn State. And while Notre Dame is not a Big Ten team, they play in Big Ten country, and they received that same benefit. It is easy to say, oh, it really stings. It really hurts to lose this thing, when the thing that is being lost impacts you negatively. But it's also benefited a lot of people. Now, are there ways to kind of ease it a little bit? Yes. Yes, there are. One of the things that, in my opinion, I do not love that we are at this reality, but because of the failure of the adults in the room to recognize where we were going and prepare for it, a student union and collective bargaining agreement is your only hope at this point. It's your only hope. All those things that you lost, they are not gone. It is just that loyalty is no longer a one-way street. Nick Saban absolutely gray-shirted guys from Alabama. That is to say, he brought them in, he put them on scholarship, he kept them there, and then one day he realized, I got this really good player coming out of high school, but I don't have room for him on the roster. So he goes to a kid and he says, hey, bud, we're going to let you finish school on financial aid, but you're not on the football team anymore. I need your spot. I need your Scully. I need your spot for another dude. That is something. The gray shirt was a big time controversy back when I was in Florida. I would be willing to ask Nick Saban, how many kids did you gray shirt? How many kids who did want to play in the SEC and want to play for Alabama and wanted to rep the script A and wanted to rock the crimson did you go to and go, yeah, I got somebody better than you. You're out. Because I know the answer is not zero. So it's kind of tough for me to take this, you've gotten rid of discipline and loyalty and all that. No, you haven't. Recruit kids who are disciplined. Recruit kids who have loyalty. Once you get them on campus, coach them and develop them in a way where they value loyalty, where they value brand awareness and representing you and what you are and what you've built. Recruit those kids and then build those kids up. But if you're just going to recruit the best player, regardless of who the hell they are, don't be shocked when they go, I'm going to go be the best player wherever I can be. This take means nothing to me. It means nothing to me. Respectfully to a guy I would 100% put in charge of college football, it means nothing to me. What means everything to me is being able to sit back, relax, and listen to a sports flash.
He says as he leaves the room.
Yep, I got to pee.
The South Carolina women's basketball team knocked off number 18 Tennessee last night, 70-63. Chloe Kitts, Raven Johnson, and Tiana Pau all had 10 points in starting roles, while the Gamecocks were led by Joyce Edwards, 18 off the bench. Gamecocks are now 20-1, but remain number 2 in the polls behind undefeated UCLA, who handed the Gamecocks their only loss. The number 3 team in the country in men's basketball fell last night as Arizona State dropped Iowa State 86-75. The Sun Devils' Caleb Love hit a game-tying half-court shot to extend the game to overtime and knock down 2 more threes in the extra period after starting the game 1 for 10 from deep. The loss is Iowa State's 3rd of the season. Tune in tomorrow at 5:30 as Furman Paladins take on the Samford Bulldogs. Furman versus Samford right here on your home for Furman Paladins basketball. The Fan, Upstate. Here's the thing, Joe. If you're at the trough, you only have one hand free. If you're in the toilet, in the stall, both your hands are free, or they should be, depending on where you are in your efforts. So, having both hands free, or only having one hand free. I'm just saying. Also, if you're in the stall, someone's going to get you. You're seeing them. They're in front of you. At stall, they might hit you from behind or from the side, so you're not seeing it as much. I don't think you're thinking it through as much as you should. And you may say I'm thinking it through too much, but that's what I do. Overthinking is my curse or talent, depending on how you look at it that way. See, I get where you're coming from there. But if the person who wants to fight you is not immediately to your left or right while you're at the trough, when you turn, you also got to fight them because you just peed on them. I guess if you're ready to go, you can take on, 1, 2, 5. But I just think from stall, you have more prep time. You're in a better position. I'm trying to think of any movies where any of those things happened. Yes, you made me laugh out loud. It really doesn't happen too often. There have been many bathroom scene fights through the years. Best one was a Mission Impossible, though. And Henry Cavill loaded his arms and was ready to go. See, that's a good point, Trey. But if you're in the stall, you got two hands to get that knife out. If you're at the trough, you've only got one hand.
I'll tell you what, I can let, if there's a knife to me, I'll let that thing flap around for a minute while I fight back, bud.
I think that may depend on where the knife is. Say it.
Even if the knife's at the thing, I still want both hands.
Right, which is why the stall is better, because you're in there, your hands are free. At the trough, as I was saying earlier, when you're out of the room, if you're trough, your fighting is coming from behind or from side to side. If you are in the stall, it's in front of you. You can see your opponent in front of you, unless somehow they're able to get over the stall that's next to you.
It's real easy.
Yeah, but depending on your peripheral, you still got your opponent is still to either side, whereas when you're in the stall, they're right in front of you.
If somebody kicks open the door to a stall to attack you, which again, I don't believe is an issue. I am impressed.
You should be prepared for
if
all
your
things.
Bruce Lee martial arts training kicks in and you just go, okay, I'm ready.
But here's the thing. I look through the cracks. I know there's someone standing out there.
If you're not watching on the live stream, you're just missing out on what is perhaps the most elite content in the history of the internet. The proper response to being attacked in the process of various restroom activities.
Hey, he's still losing.
2-1. I'm alive.
Still losing. You started.
I'm
this.
alive.
That's all I was going to say is you started this.
What happens if you are attacked while you are standing in the numero uno position? What happens if you are attacked while seated in the numero dos position? How would one handle each of these situations? Oh, at this point, see, I'm the dude that I sit down at a restaurant. All right. I think we've had this conversation and that's okay. I've sat down. I will sit down at a restaurant and every time I do, I got this from my dad because he told me he did it and I didn't feel bad about it. I will sit down at a restaurant and when I do, I immediately end up in a spot where I'm like looking around and I'm like, all right, what's my escape plan? What's my way out of here? If they come in that door, I'm getting over there. I got that table for cover. There's a wall. The kitchen is a viable escape alternative. I got my wife. She's seated to my left. If that comes back, I got to roll over there to get in front of her. Blah blah. I got the whole thing planned out every time. I can tell you this. I am 40 years old. And I'm not saying it can't ever happen. Always be prepared. But I'm 40 years old. I've never been in a situation where I needed to turn into Rambo at a moment's notice. But it's always good to have a plan. Until literally this day, I have never thought, what's my escape plan if I get caught during the call of nature with my pants down, either metaphorically or literally?
Here's what I believe, Rob. I believe we all have a purpose, and sometimes our purpose is not. You don't have the sight to see what your purpose is. Some days, like today, in this conversation that was just had on the stream and has now made its way back on to the actual radio show. There's one person out there that this is for. It's not you. It's probably not me. It's probably not Joe or Steven or any of those guys. It's someone who's not even responding on the stream, who may be in a situation today and their life might be saved just by being situationally aware of something that they weren't in the first place.
If any of you are ever seated in the numero dos position and someone kicks open the door to attack you, and you have already come up with your exit plan and you are able to get out of the seated position safely and escape the restroom because you thought about it due to the Rob Brown show and the Great One Lonzo's bathroom self-defense martial arts class, Congratulations, and you're
All
welcome.
right, I just got to say, James says, what kind of hooligan starts a fight there? And Joe's response was Eagles fan. There you go. Don't really have to say anything else.
That's actually very fair. That's the correct answer. There was a video yesterday that made the rounds of a guy, a Washington fan, leaving the link after the NFC title game on Sunday, and he was just getting harassed by Eagles fans, which, all right, talking a little smack on the way out the door, sure, got it. But they one of them ended up running over and like ripping his commander's hat off and running away with it. Another guy was kind of shoving him around. And then all the other Eagles fans were just laughing at it while it's happening. This is why nobody likes you, Philly. But here's the problem with Philly fans. And the reason that, regardless of my overall opinion of the Chiefs or Lonzo or the refs or anything else, even with the love I have for Saquon Barkley, which is a lot, the love I have for Jalen Hurts, which is a lot, I am still rooting for Kansas City to win the Super Bowl because Eagles fans are the worst people in sports. They're just the worst.
There were never any fights in the restroom at your high school?
I mean, none that I can recall where somebody got caught, again, in the midst of relieving themselves, specifically in the stall variety.
Quite a few, as I recall, at our high school, mostly.
Yeah, but you also had a high school where teachers threw desks at
True,
students. We are not the same.
We are not. We know that. And it was mostly in the girls' restrooms.
I mean, I guess they need it more than we do. 50%. I mean, if you're getting jumped in the bathroom,
there are no options in the girls' restroom. So I mean,
all right, we got some other stuff we got to get into. I can't spend the rest of the show talking about bathroom fighting etiquette. But I mean, we could.
I'm sure there's a Jackie Chan movie out there.
There's got to be an action scene where somebody fights out of a stall, right? There's got to be action movie scene fighting out of bathroom stall. Let's see. Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill had a bathroom stall fight scene in Mission Impossible, one of them. I don't know which one.
Which I mentioned earlier
Fallout.
on the stream, which was the best restroom fight that I can recall. And it was an amazing fight.
There is a YouTube Watch Mojo video of the top 10 bathroom fights in movies. We're going to have to power rank those tomorrow. Gosh darn it. This is spiral.
Your fear of the cracks in the stall brought all this on. So this is your fault.
It's not fear.
I just went with it.
It's desire to not have that anymore. I just don't need somebody giving me the old peekaboo while I'm in there potentially playing peekaboo with myself. I don't need it. Let me have this vulnerable moment to myself without having to lock eyes with some stranger. Because here's the other thing. The lady friend and I were in a hospital the other day. Okay. We had to go visit somebody. We were in the hospital, and as we were walking down the hallway, I hate hospitals. I'm just uncomfortable in hospitals. I'm not afraid to admit it. They make me uncomfortable.
Yeah,
okay?
I don't think there's anyone who really enjoys
loves them.
Yeah.
As we were walking down, and we were in a section of the hospital where people are not doing well, right? Like just bad. And the problem, obviously, is that all the doors are open. And we had the conversation of how many people do you think are capable of walking down that hallway and like not peeping a glance into the door? Like you shouldn't, right? Someone in there is having probably the worst time of their entire life, And we are such like, and I don't think this is revealing anything about me. I could be wrong. I think this is about all of us. I think just about everybody, especially if like a sudden noise or something comes out of one of those rooms, is going to turn the head and take a peek, right? Like you're just, it's almost second nature. And I don't know where that second nature comes from. I theorized that, one of the things that I have found is inherently true about human beings, and I don't find anything wrong with this, is that we are, I think we're all curious about death to some degree, right? Like there is morbid curiosity in most of us. And it comes from any variety of reasons. I think for many of us, I theorize that it is, while we all may have our beliefs about what comes next, none of us truly know what, if anything, comes next. And so I think to face that, and especially to face that by seeing it in real time and putting ourselves in that in those shoes, there's something that just sparks our natural curiosity about that, and you can't help but peek, right? I'm not saying it's good. You shouldn't. You should have respect for that person that's in that room and is fighting for their lives potentially, by not just, hey, what's going on in there? But like sometimes you can't help yourself. I don't need that while my butt cheeks are hanging out. Okay? All right? I don't need it. And I think if people see a closed door, there is some sort of human curiosity of what's happening behind that door that forces some people to just like have their eyes drawn in that direction. And I can tell you that at least once at this radio station, and I shan't say who, but at least once in this radio station, we have 2 stalls in the upstairs restroom. You gotta walk by number 1 to get to number 2. I can tell you that at least once, the call of nature did not give me enough warning to leave work and go home and give myself home field advantage during that activity. And at least one time, at least one person that works in this building 100% locked one eye, because it's just a little crack, but locked one eye with me while I'm sitting in there. And I genuinely have never been that uncomfortable.
I just want to point out, it was not me.
It was not Lonzo.
Because I wouldn't do that.
It was not Lonzo.
I look for feet.
And I will go so far as to tell you it was someone from our downstairs portion of the office that this happened.
Oh, that's not shocking.
Mainly because Rob Brown's no idiot. And if he knows he's got to spend some level of extended time in a restroom, I go to the one downstairs. Because I know the people that work upstairs, and I don't want to be in that bathroom even if nothing's happening in there for any extended period of time. I don't know what lingering damage has been done that might do damage to me.
What you're saying is you're not one of us.
In that regard, no. There are some people in this upstairs portion of the building that I am genuinely concerned about their health and well-being.
I have been downstairs before and have, it's been worse than anything that happened upstairs. So.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not even close.
Well, that's your experience.
So the point here is,
I've been here 20 going on 26 years, Rob.
I have been downstairs.
There's been some hosses working downstairs. Not right now.
Yeah, they're all upstairs. I have been in the restroom downstairs and had at least one. None of you care about this. I don't even know we're talking about it, but here we are. I have been.
You
in the
were
bathroom
moving away
downstairs.
from it, and you decided to come back.
You
to
brought
it.
me back, and I was utilizing stall numero uno because I am him. I try not to use the handicap stall unless it's just the only option. All right. I'm using restroom numero uno, the regular stall, and one person from downstairs not only walked by me to go to the handicap stall. No problem. But as I looked out of the little crack, I saw a face looking back into the little crack. And I need you to know, and this is true, I haven't spoken to that person since. This was probably like summer last year. I have not spoken to that person since then.
Do they still work here?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yep. Sure do. I have not spoken to that individual since. And I'm going to be honest, if they call, and I have
Did they
to
tell me I
imagine-
was on the wrong side of radio?
Did they tell you that?
I was trying. I remember I told you who said that to me.
No.
I was trying to see if it was that person.
I'm not going to give any hints. All I'm going to say is
that's
if my phone rang right now and it was that person and they were like, hey, Rob Brown, I have an endorsement that's going to pay you 10 grand a month, I would have to mentally prepare myself to answer that phone call.
Come on.
Because of that eye contact.
It's 10 grand, dude. You're doing
because
that.
of that eye contact.
You're doing that.
That eye contact.
Just wear your sunglasses. You don't have to look at the guy.
It's just the knowledge that eye contact damaged me as a person. All right. It did something to my psyche that has not recovered yet. All right. We got to take a break. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, I got a few more things that I want to get through and burn through. We had, again, a handful more NFL coaches that were introduced yesterday.
Are you going to get to Jacksonville? Are you not playing that cut?
To Jacksonville?
You're not playing
Oh,
that?
yeah.
I was going to say, this is one thing that everyone's playing that I really think we should participate in.
Think I won't take the opportunity to dunk on the butthole of America? That's a weird way to say that sentence. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate, if I'm still employed here. Actually did have that number.
All right, Joe. I got to say, I don't know what that is. And
Poseidon's Kiss?
yeah, and I don't know if I want to know, probably not, what that is.
It is when something drops into the toilet and it bloop,
Oh,
back up,
okay.
and
All
you
right.
get that little
Yeah, no, I know what that is. Okay. All right.
Poseidon's
All right. I
Kiss.
think we all know what that is. I didn't know it was called that. Is there a name for it if it happens in succession just because there's major problems going on?
Poseidon's Kisses?
Okay. I don't know. I
don't
just know if there was another word or words. My hermit lifestyle, there's some things that I just haven't heard of before. Or maybe that like came out after I was out of high school. When's the first time you heard that word? Or those
Poseidon's
words?
Kiss?
Yeah.
Oh, you're at college probably.
Okay. All right. All right. Since you mentioned it, now I'm looking it up. All right. The best bathroom fights. Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. I didn't see that. Karate Kid. They didn't fight in the bathroom. Did they? I thought he just like poured the. Yeah, I don't think they fought in the bathroom. It's the rest. Oh, read more. Rush Hour 2. I think I remember that one. Blood and Bone. Did not watch that.
What?
Blood and Bone. It was a martial arts movie with Michael Jai White. Ninja Assassin. Didn't see that. A lot of these came out like in 2009 or in the 2000s. Nothing before that. Oh, here we go. True Romance, 1993. Never saw that. Naked Gun 2.5. Don't remember the thing. X-Men Origins Wolverine. Did they fight in a restroom in that movie?
Sometimes you got to use the handicap stall so you have something to hold on to.
Eastern Promises. Okay. So a lot of these at least I saw the number one. Yeah, you know what? Today's show overall, there's some places that there was Glory mentioned. Now although listen, this conversation right now could be a lifesaver.
I'm willing to guess that the entirety of my circle, no one's ever been attacked in the bathroom. It's actually said my high school had no damn doors on the stalls.
Oh, that sucks. You would never go to the restroom. There were doors, but they used them as weapons. That's what happened. They ripped them off. I'd love to go back to my old high school, but I'd be really ticked off if it looks nice now. You go in and everything's redone, refurbished, which you would think it would be because of how old it is. I want it to look as bad as it did when I was there. Builds character. There you go. I should title our podcast that, Stephen.
Poseidon's Kiss.
No, you didn't. No, it's more than that. You know, at least as of today, we get paid to do this.
For now.
I mean, you know.
For now. So, Joey B, you're saying you're the only variable in that equation? All right. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Great to be with you. I'm Rob the Great one. Lonzo on the ones and twos. A lot going on from yesterday. NFL head coaches being introduced from all around these great United States. And one of them was Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen is the former offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is now the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And if you have missed out on the saga about Liam Cohen, it was an interesting story. Liam Cohen was the OC at Tampa. He had done some interviews with some teams. He came back and apparently he told head coach Todd Bowles that he had changed his mind and he was going to stick around at Tampa. Well, shortly after he told Todd Bowles that he was going to be sticking around with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Shad Khan of the Jacksonville Jaguars gave him a buzz and say, hey, big dog, tell you what if we get rid of our GM? What if we move on from our GM, Trent Baalke, who Jaguars fans have been ready to move on for like a hot minute. So what if we move on from Trent Baalke? And also, what if we give you, and hear me out on this, a lot of money? And Liam Cohen said, yeah, I would reconsider. So he flew back to Jacksonville. He spent some more time, and then he accepted their head coaching job. Well, the whole time he was having this interaction with the Jacksonville Jaguars, apparently the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the place he was employed at the time, couldn't get a hold of him. He just straight up ghosted him. Ignoring texts, ignoring phone calls, didn't have his location turned on, yada, yada, yada. They just could not find the guy. Well, turns out the reason they couldn't find him is because he was hanging out with Shad Khan and accepting the Jags job. Now, I'll be straight up with you. I don't really care. Yeah, the Jags wanted him, the Bucs wanted him back. Sure. Yeah, let's keep it a buck. Liam Cohen, when Dave Canales left Tampa Bay to go take over in Carolina, a lot of people said, can they run it back with Bake without Dave Canales? And the answer to Liam Cohen was, yeah, they sure can. And they sure did. So I'm not all out on Liam Cohen as potentially a guy who could elevate Trevor Lawrence to where I and no one else thinks Trevor Lawrence can be elevated to. Well, yesterday, Liam Cohen was introduced. And I'm not going to play you his whole press conference. I'm not even going to play you one segment of his press conference. I'm just going to play you the only 4 seconds of his press conference that ultimately matters. And I forgot to change the thing over. I'm getting my butt whooped today. I'm going to play you the only 4 seconds of the press conference that matters. Duval. No, Liam. No.
I'll never understand the Duval thing has to do with their county, right?
They are in Duval County.
I mean,
and because
who else is arrogant enough to make the name of their county a thing?
There's actually a reason for this. As somebody who lived there, it is because the butthole of America, Jacksonville, Florida, is one of the reasons that it is to me, and I mean this. This part is not even like me being haha funny. It's just a crappy city. And part of the reason it's a crappy city is because it's spread out 100 miles in every direction. If you want to do anything, you are getting on the interstate for it. There's nowhere to go from A to B in Jacksonville that you don't get on the interstate. That city is Duval County. Like the whole county is Jacksonville. Jacksonville's the whole county. And so because of that, the Jax fans have adopted Duval as their thing. Now, if you've heard them do it before, and I have because I live there, they go, Duval.
Yeah, but why?
Duval.
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 Duval. That is what the kids call negative aura.
I will say, I think both ways are stupid because I just don't understand. I mean, do we go Greenville? Does everyone do that? Or Lawrence? Or Cleanan?
Again,
I mean, do we do that? No,
I don't have.
I mean,
I don't have an issue
Pickens
with them shouting the county because if you just said,
but where else do they do that at?
Lonzo, of all the people on planet Earth who shouldn't hate a thing because a very small number of people do it, it's you. It's you. You should be celebrating the fact that they have found their own thing. It makes them different, and they're leaning into it. That's what we do.
I don't.
That's the whole show.
I don't get what you're referencing.
Who else does a radio show like us? Nobody. And we celebrate it. We win awards because of it, but we celebrate it. I don't even care. As much as I hate Jacksonville and everything in it, around it, and connected to it, the Duval thing, I respect. It's their little chant. It's their little cheer.
So when you live there, and I realize that this is a part of your life you try not to talk about, but still talk about all the time. Did you yell Duval like when you entered the bar?
No, because I hated it when I lived there. I hated it worse after the reason that I had to leave there. But
then why are you defending it?
Because I like that. I like when communities have their own little thing and they don't give a damn about. Do you not think it's really dumb? Everyone else in America thinks it's dumb that you guys go, the Ohio State University.
No, because
but you're good with that.
No,
you're the only ones who do it. That makes it bad, right?
No, because I've explained it many times. I just don't think you actually listen. There are more than one Ohio University.
And there's more than one county in Florida.
Well, that's the only one we know.
Not me.
Well, of course, because you live there. But I don't.
Escambia, Santa Rosa.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
The point here is,
I don't hear anyone going, Carusa. I think I said it right. I'm not sure.
So I am good with the whole Duval thing. In fact, I think it's kind of cool that they have, as much as I hate that city. Actually, for the record, I actually don't hate the Jaguars. I just hate the city they're in. I don't have an issue with Jacksonville.
Though. Don't ever let that sound die, because that's the sound of Jacksonville to me now, forever.
Duval.
Liam, you had an opportunity. I'm going to tell you right now.
Ooh, maybe we can get Creepy Weather Guy to say it that way.
I'm going to tell you right now. Liam Cohen, if you would have stepped up to that mic the first time you were introduced as the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, if you'd have stepped up, if you'd have grabbed that mic, if you'd have gone 10 toes in the sand and with your whole chest went, Duval, you would have become an instant, immediate legend to those people. You would have been right. You would have been over, as we dorks in the wrestling world say. You would have become the biggest baby face in Jayville, in Duval. But instead, you grab the mic. He does this like little smirk head turn thing.
Duval.
No, the emphasis is on the do, not the ball. Duval. You got it backwards. Liam, I want a coach who connects with the city. I want a coach who understands the culture. This is why Dan Campbell right now is so beloved in Detroit Rock City. He is so beloved in Detroit Rock City because I think, and I think it's fair to say, Dan Campbell has embraced that kind of blue collar, gritty business, lunch pail, go to work and grind and then die mentality of Detroit, Michigan. He's embraced that. He is that culture, and those people all wrap themselves up in him. You get a guy like Ed Orgeron. Oh, no, I'm going to go Tigers. He shows up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and to this day, anytime that there's a coach opening in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the Bayou Bengal fans are like, I don't know, anybody call Coach O? The man ingrained himself in that culture. Jimmy Johnson, when he was in Miami, they still love him down there. Why? Because he looked around and said, hey, it probably ain't for me, but I'm going to dive in. I want a coach who represents the culture of the fan base. I want a coach who understands not just the team, but we love our sports teams because they are an outward representation of who we are. You know why we hate bandwagon fans? It's not because bandwagon fans are just always celebrating championships or natties or whatever. We hate bandwagon fans because when bandwagon fans jump from one bandwagon to the next, the spot that the thing that they are, at least to us, exclaiming is, there is nothing about me that makes me unique or special or like a thing. I just like to go where we party all the time. There's nothing special. If I tell you that I am a dyed-in-the-wool, born and bred, wrapped in a Saints blanket the day I was born New Orleans Saints fan, you can make certain cultural assumptions about me, and you're probably right. You're probably right. If you tell me that you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan and have been for life, I can make certain cultural assumptions about you, and I'm probably right. I mean, I'm going to be spot on 100%, but I'm probably right. And this is why coaches, the great coaches, I mean this, the great coaches, I think, lean into the culture, and they want to make sure that the people in that city feel like they are connected to their team. And if there is one driving force for us that makes us feel connected to each other or a team or whatever, it's our sense of community. And in some cases, tribalism, but our sense of community, right? If I am out and about and somebody tells me, if I'm traveling and somebody goes, oh, I see your Triumph jersey. I'm from Greenville. I'm like, oh, what up? You're from Greenville. That's awesome. And I have that connection with them. And then you can go one step further. If they go, yeah, I live in Taylor's. Now I'm like, oh, damn. Right? Because we're from the same hood. We rep the same hood, man. And then if they say, I'm from your specific neighborhood, now I'm like, oh, now we're buddies. I don't know anything about you, but we're buddies. We connect over that stuff. And so when I got a guy who has an opportunity on day one to show up to a flailing franchise that has all the optimism in the world, they've got talent. They've got an owner who, even if he's divested, is at least willing to spend some money. They've got, they believe, some of us do, some of us don't, but they believe a franchise quarterback down there in Jacksonville, or at least a guy who could be developed into one. This dude grabbed the mic and could have given them a from the chest Duval and had his moment. And instead, Duval. That ain't it, bud. That ain't it, Liam. This day has largely been about culture, atmosphere, environment. This day has largely and primarily been about, what makes franchises work and not work and all that. And that's all well and good. That ain't it. That ain't it. That's how you get your fan base to go, do you know what it is that we do here? Now, in fairness, if he shows up and Trevor Lawrence is in a Pro Bowl next year and the Jags win the AFC South next year and they're competing for some, for some AFC title games in the next year or two, then all that goes out the window. But man, it is hard to thrive when the community at large is not behind you. And that is second to Jerry Jones' thing from earlier of the most awkward thing that an NFL official did yesterday. All right, we got a few more actual sports topics to talk about when we come back. Rob Lonzo and you, the Rob Brown Show, wraps up next on the Fan Upstate. Ran out of breath there.
So I watched an entire documentary on the cowbell sketch yesterday. I suggest that you watch it.
A whole documentary.
Peacock has a Saturday Night Live documentary series. Watched like 4 of them now. It's behind the scenes, like what the writers do and stuff like that.
I'm actually really interested.
It shows original auditions from a bunch of people like Will Ferrell and people like that.
Yeah.
But they did an entire skit on the cowbell skit, an entire documentary rather. I didn't realize that Will Ferrell was the one who wrote it. Yeah, but he was. And it was originally meant for someone else.
We don't have a lot of songs featured cowbell. So if Bruce Dickinson says he needs more cowbell, I say we give him more.
You should watch it because they try to track down the real Bruce Dickinson, and there's several people saying that they're actually that person.
Bruce Dickinson.
Yeah, different people saying who they try to find out who really played the cowbell on the original song for Blue Oyster Cult. It's not Blue Oyster Cult, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. It's and they got the original drummer from them and a bunch of stuff. It's really good. Trying to remember if they have who all from the actual skit. Will Ferrell and then Jimmy Fallon, but I don't think anybody else was on there. No, actually, Chris Kattan was on there too. And no, they got everybody except for the big guy. I'm not forgetting.
Walken.
No. Well, they didn't get him either. But I'm talking about figuratively.
Horatio.
Yeah, Horatio is the only one that did. I think there's Bad Blood, if I recall.
Because baby, now we got Bad Blood.
The other thing that I've taken from the documentary was when Bill Hader got the job and he was flying back to New York. He was flying with Andy Samberg, and they told him that Andy's got the job, but he doesn't know. You can't tell him. So he had to fly the entire flight knowing that Andy had the job. And at least from what I could tell from Bill Hader, he probably messed with him that entire flight.
I would say I've started watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I really like it.
I watched the first couple seasons,
really
then I don't know. I think I just stopped watching sitcoms for some reason.
We talked earlier in the show. The NFL has an image problem right now, and I don't think that's shocking to anybody. The NFL has an image problem right now, and the image problem for the NFL, in my opinion, is a big one. It is a massive image problem for the NFL. Whether or not it's earned is up to you to decide. But what I do know is that right now, if you go onto any social media platform and you look at any post the NFL is making right now, especially if it's from the AFC title game or the AFC divisional round game, you will notice that a massive chunk, the majority of the reactions and comments to these posts are NFL fans saying it's rigged. The call is in. The jig is up. We see it now. We're out. There is a swath of fans. Now, I don't believe that this is going to have an impact, but I also didn't believe that the college football championship was going to see an impact, and it very did, a 12% drop in viewership because of the wait time. Well, if you listen to the people that were saying so, the 11-day wait from the semi to the natty caused a 12% drop in viewership. Will there be a even close to equivalent drop in the Super Bowl audience this year? I don't know. What I do know is whether it is correct or not, the NFL has an image problem. And I pointed out that during that game, while one of the controversial calls was being discussed on the broadcast, there was a field level view of Arrowhead, and there was a big old BetMGM logo advertisement on that big oval jumbotron that's over Arrowhead, which was a, let's say, less than opportune time for that particular advertisement to be displayed, because a lot of people are making the connection that now that sports gambling is legal and now that sports gambling has a massive foothold in terms of partnerships with the National Football League, there is a belief that the NFL, if it's not outright rigging games, is at least influencing them. Now, again, I personally do not believe that there is some grand conspiracy in order to change or influence the outcome of games. I have stood on for a very long time. The number of people who would have to be involved with that is a number that I don't believe is capable of keeping a secret. The NBA had a problem with one ref that we know of in Tim Donaghy, and that got blown open. That was a guy. That was one guy, and that got blown open. The NFL would have to have multiple people involved, and I don't think that they could get away with that. But what I do think is that the people who have had a complaint, and we're not going to get into the are they right or are they not, because right now in this, that's largely irrelevant. There's a large number of people who believe that over the years, but in this point of the conversation, this year certainly, that certain calls from certain officials have helped out the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, one of those calls was the Josh Allen not first down in the AFC title game. And I'm going to be honest with you. I spent a lot of time looking at that yesterday. And I found camera angles that had me convinced it was a first down and a blown call. And I found camera angles that I went, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe that's not it. Maybe that's not a first down. But I also had to keep reminding myself that all of these camera angles are taken from different spots. There is not a definitive line on the field that you can go, if it crosses here, it's a first down. It is an imaginary plane from stick to stick, one side of the field to the other. So whether it was or it wasn't, even that to some degree is irrelevant to the conversation. What is relevant to the conversation is that a massive amount of NFL fans believe that the Chiefs have been given an unfair advantage this year over other teams based on the whistles. And the point that I wanted to make here was the fact that this is, at least in this one call's regard, easily fixable. It's easily fixable. I was scrolling a couple of days ago. I was scrolling social media because I don't have a life. And I came across a clip, and it was an equipment manager for, if I recall correctly, the Seattle Seahawks. And he was giving a demonstration of how some of the equipment that they utilize in order to make sure that the football team and football players have what they need, where they need, when they need it. And one of the things that I thought was very interesting was he showed off a pair of cleats that I believe DK Metcalf likes. And he pulled these cleats out. He went and they had this big rolling rack of shoes. These enormous sliding stand up, I don't even know what to call them, shelving units. And he walked over and he slid one open and he pulled out a Nike box and he said, these are the cleats that DK Metcalf likes to wear. And these are the cleats that he's going to wear today. And he walked it over to a desk and he goes, this is what we call and he named the system. It's called like the super locker or something like that. And he opened it and he said, we're going to go to DK's profile here. And we're going to open DK's profile and we're going to scan these cleats in. And it does a couple of things. Number one, it tells us who's got what equipment at any given time, right? If a player comes out and goes, I need a pair of cleats, I needed this, I needed that, I needed whatever. We can scan that to him. And at any given moment, we can know what ball player has what equipment where at any given moment. The second thing we can do is we can track where this equipment has been and what's happened to it. They can track every inch of real estate that piece of equipment has covered. So if they hand a player a pair of cleats, you know what he can't do anymore? He can't take it and hand it off on eBay. He can't leave the building and go sell it to one of his boys or whatever. He checks it out. He uses it. He brings it back for them to either place maintenance on it and put it back into the inventory or to say, okay, it's damaged, we got to get rid of it or whatever. They can also take the metrics off of it. In these cleats, DK ran X amount of feet, X amount of seconds. His pulse was this, it was that, all these vital signs, whatever. They can track every bit of that by a chip that goes into the heel of a cleat. A chip that goes into the heel of a cleat that players cannot detect is in that cleat when they're wearing that cleat. So here's my question mark for the NFL. If your teams have spent so much money, if your teams have done so much R&D, if technology has improved so much that you can instill a microchip into a player's cleat that can tack. Let me try that again. If you can install a microchip into a player's cleat that can track where it is, where it's been, the speed it has been moving at, the exact location in the facility so where the equipment managers can go find it or whatever. If you have all of that tech available to keep track of a pair of football cleats, then why in the world are we not utilizing this to get rid of one of the most important aspects of the football game, spotting the ball? So that we can know this player earned to that yard line, to this spot on the football field. That is where that player was down. That is where that player should be marked as down. That is the yard line that the offense earned. That is the yard line that the defense kept them to. So that when we have a spot like we did on that fourth down and Josh Allen makes a play with the Super Bowl on the line, and he takes a QB snap and he runs to the left and he is stacked up by the Chiefs defense, we can know down to a centimeter, because you can tell me exactly down to a centimeter where those damn cleats are in the locker room, right? We can know down to a centimeter where the football was. Put a chip in the front, put a chip in the back, let those two chips talk to whatever chip reader technology you use and tell that chip reader when you push the button or we heard a whistle or whatever it is that we utilize to signify the end of a play. When that trigger happened, chip number 1 was exactly and precisely here on the football field, and chip number 2 was exactly and precisely in this spot on the football field. Those two chips can tell the reader, this is exactly where we were. And then that chip reader can go, hey, referee, move the ball up 3 inches, back 5 inches, up 6 inches. We can get it exactly right. Because I would say, even if you are a Chiefs fan, if you have football integrity, you would want to say that if Josh Allen earned that first down, he should have been rewarded with a first down. And even if you are a Bills fan, if you have football integrity, you would say, if Kansas City stopped us, they stopped us, and that's the ball game. That's football integrity. Which means in this entire equation, the only place where there is not football integrity is the spotting of the football. That's the one place where there's not integrity. I have a bunch of referees, 2 of them in particular, who have to just do the best we can. And for a long time, we were good with that because we didn't really have the tech to have an option. We didn't have any options. We couldn't know. When Jalen Hurts dives under a tush push pile, we can't know where the ball is when he's down. When Josh Allen gets stacked up on a defense and that ball's tucked away real tight and there's 3 defensive players. Yep, I said tight. When Josh Allen runs into a defensive wall. When Josh Allen runs into a defensive wall and he's got that ball tucked away real tight and we can't know where it is because we can't see it, there's a way to fix that. And the NFL just won't do it. And if you won't make these fixes, NFL, then why am I to believe that the people that are calling shenanigans on you are wrong?
And now the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
Let's try to keep the show tight on the way out.
Yeah, I was going to do that.
Golly.
Yeah, that pretty much summed up that whole thing.
Making the only dramatic monologue of the day, and that's what I do.
Yeah, well,
good job, idiot.
I mean, it was so out of place. I don't know why. I mean, anyway, the first thing, I mean, with Glory and all the other things that were talked about today, then you try to do that at the end
They're
of the
very
show.
serious topics.
What is wrong with you? All right, the first thing that's Xing is JD McDonough.
JD, so I have not watched Raw on Netflix. Do we have to call it Monday Night Raw on Netflix? Can we just still call it Raw?
Apparently they do. So
Okay.
I would invite you to look up the clip right now, because it is very necessary. Because JD is going to be out for some time, but not with what you would think. He's going to be out with the broken ribs and a punctured lung.
Ooh. I almost spelled McDonough.
Exactly. It's MC.
Yeah, I got it.
MCD.
All right, we're working on it.
Yeah. It's
what? Okay, just tell me because I haven't seen it yet. Broken ribs with a punctured lung.
Yeah, but
Woof.
you've got to see the actual thing. He moonsaults off the top of the rope, and he hits the back of his head on the desk, and it's just more proof that his head is the most impenetrable thing in the entire world.
He hit his head so hard
it punctured his lung
that he broke a rib
and broke his ribs.
You ever had a broken rib?
I've had bruised ribs, and it's not pleasant.
I'm going to tell you straight up, and I mean this. A broken rib isn't the worst pain I've ever felt, but it's the most annoying thing in the world because there is nothing you can do to make the pain not happen. There's just not. You have to breathe, it hurts. You have to sit up, it hurts. Sit down, it hurts. Lay down, it hurts. Stand up, sit down. There is nothing to do when you have a broken lung or broken rib that does not hurt like Hades the whole time.
I had bruised ribs at halftime at the first game in my senior year, and it was purple and yellow. That's how bad it was. And my coach just kicked me and said, "Get up." So I did.
No, I'm good. I'm good, coach. I'm just going to die right here.
Yeah, I was breathing. He's
I'm
like,
gonna just die
that was
right
the
here.
That was the old rub some dirt on it. And I did. And
Bury me here and name the field after me, coach. I'm out.
Absolutely. The next thing that's Xing is Superman.
Okay. I don't specifically know why this is trending. I did see it trending earlier, but
People
I didn't
will
check.
complain about everything. What is wrong with the world? You're going to find something wrong with everything. So they introduced a different clip for the movie where he's flying and he like spins and he's flying towards the camera, and people are complaining about the look on his face.
So
the look on his face is not, oh, it's CGI. And then James Gunn had to come out and defend and say, no, that's just his face. We didn't CGI it.
Here's what I've recognized about society over the last
Everybody hating, man.
Over the last handful of months, what I've learned about society, not even handful of years, what I've learned about society is that most people are pretty much apathetic towards most things. It's just that the people who do complain They're the ones who do it loudest, right? And when people complain, and they are the only ones that are speaking out and do so loudly, all that people with the megaphone have to amplify is those that complain. I honestly believe that with a few rare exceptions, most things that are like super widely complained about on Twitter, more people like it than hate it. It's just that how many times have you seen a superhero movie commercial and you really liked it and you're like, I have to go to Twitter and say how good this is? Very rarely. But if you see one and you go, I hate this, you're immediately running to social media.
Okay.
That's why social media is a toxic cesspool and we should all quit it immediately.
Because of my algorithms, I'm going to see all that stuff anyway. All right. The next thing that's Xing is Dakota Kai.
Again, didn't watch last night. So
this wasn't from last night. You did see the incident that happened, the drop kick. I showed it to you.
Oh, yeah.
She's out with a concussion.
Yeah, I'm not shocked. She got drop kicked into the shadow realm.
Yeah, and Shayna Baszler is already online making fun of the fact that she's out, and all of the only ones left is Io Sky. Everybody else is hurt and out, including Asuka. All right, time for one more, and it is because we don't get enough of this. Taylor Swift.
She's trending because she released a new song.
She's trending because apparently NFL fans hate her.
Oh yeah, for sure. But
And
it's not just
they think their hate is going to keep her from being shown like a couple times during a game.
Yeah, because for every one of you NFL fans that hates her and is over it, there is one apathetic NFL fan like me who doesn't care, just whatever. And there's two Taylor Swift fans who are like, I'm watching football because Tay-Tay said so.
And by the way, the NFL loves Taylor Swift.
Because for every one of you, there's two Taylor Swift fans. Listen, we got invited to a Super Bowl party. I told the wife, I'm like, hey, we're going to go. And she's like, well, the Chiefs are in it, so Taylor's going to be there. And I said, yeah. And she goes, okay, we can go. Like, that's the only reason she'll do it. Okay, fine by me. I'm getting to watch football. You understand how good that is for me? I get to go to a Super Bowl party because of Taylor Swift. I'm now pro Taylor Swift. I hope she's very sad at the end. No, I don't. I hate the Eagles so much.
And you were already
love you,
pro
James.
Taylor Swift anyway.
That's also true. Because the haters are gonna hate. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Hope we've all learned lessons today that we can carry with us, not just throughout the week, but throughout our lifetime. You're welcome.
If any of you are ever jumped while you're trying to take a poop, I hope you all reflect back to this show and the life lessons that Senior Alonso has taught to all of us. Mucho importante.
I agree, Wesley. It was special is a good word for today's show.
Special is a good word for every show, but not in the positive light. Oh man. All right. If Lonzo and I still work here tomorrow, we'll see you then. Thanks for being here. You're all amazing people. Tell your friends about us. We're trying to get rich and famous. Have a great day. Goodbye. Somebody said America's new